Well, hello there everyone, and welcome to another Pony and Wolf video. Today we have a little bit of something special. It is a compilation video of all the short stories done in the year 2013. So get something to drink, recline in your favorite chair, and enjoy these early works of mine. Please. Your ears might start bleeding, so don't be too judgmental with my early works. I was still using a headset mic and sometimes one that I borrowed from my father.
Hello everypony, here comes another short story. I just read the description on FimFiction. It's one-parter, and I laughed so hard when I read the description that I thought, you just have to do this. The story is actually called Sweetie Belle Discovers Scissoring and is written by Gary Oak. So let's begin. Sweetie Belle discovers scissoring. Rarity leaned forward, the steam from her teacup tickling her coat. Oh, come on, Twilight, darling. You simply must try it. Twilight Sparkle shook her head while taking a sip of her own tea. The Earl Nay burned lightly as it went down her throat, but it was not scalding. Rarity always made tea just right. Rarity rested her cheek on a forehoof and huffled slightly through flared nostrils. I don't see why not. At first I was reluctant, but Pinkie Pie... How many ciders did that take? Rarity would have blanched if her hide was not already white. I'll have you know, I had nothing to drink that night, she said, recoiling with wide eyes. We merely shared a quiet night, Twilight giggled. Quiet for Pinkie, anyway. Over a few glasses of her berry punch. Her special berry punch? Twilight's wings snapped open, and the blue drapes on her right stirred from the breeze. Her super special berry punch? Rarity nodded almost mechanically. She fidgeted her hoofs as she held her teacup beside her, but did not take a sip. I thought so. Twilight took another sip, nodding saggily. You do realize there's something in there besides fruit juice and sugar, right? Rarity's teacup nearly hit the table, but she managed to guide it back to its saucer without spilling a drop. She wouldn't. Twilight drew upward, rustling the front of her mane. She did. Oh, I should have known, Rarity wailed, leaning melodramatically back in her chair. Pinkie took advantage of me. Her limbs spasmed rigidly. How dare she? I was so innocent, so vulnerable, so naive, like a delicate spring flower. I... Twilight gestured a forehoof toward Rarity in a circling motion. Enjoyed it? Yes. Rarity's shoulders sagged. But she seemed just so endearing and convincing. How could I refuse? Twilight's wings folded, then ruffled. She took another sip. It's Pinkie Pie. Rarity slumped in a most unladylike manner. I suppose you're right. A pregnant pause filled the air, with only Twilight and Rarity barely audible slurps of steadily cooling tea breaking the silence. So, about my proposal, Rarity said minutes later. I said no. Twilight's teacup clinked as she set it down. I'm not into that kind of stuff at all. I'm flattered that you offered, but you never know until you give it a try. Rarity bit her lower lip. I just wanted to... scissor with you, just once. She put on her best pouty face, an expression normally reserved for her more dire situations. Please? The chair beneath Twilight's flank scraped on the floor as she stood up. I'm sure you'd make a great partner for scissoring, but I'm not that kind of filly. Why don't you ask Rainbow Dash? I'm sure she'd love to give it a try, if she hasn't done it a lot already. Rarity blinked. You're kidding, right? Have you ever seen her house? I lost count of the number of Sauron posters I had to sift through when I helped her redecorate Lost Autumn. Twilight clapped the forehoof on Rarity's shoulder. I'm sure you'll find some pony else in no time. She closed her eyes and gave her a sweet smile. Now I really must be going. I've got a whole hoof full of friendship reports to write up. Darling, you could write a report on scissoring. For the last time, no. Twilight said before teleporting outside the Carousel Boutique's kitchen and taking off into the direction of Golden Oak's library. Rarity's ears dropped. But oh now who will I scissor with? Perhaps I'll have to see if Pinkie's busy tonight. Did some pony say scissoring? Pinkie burst forth from the cupboard under the sink. Sounds like fun. Sweetie Belle stood behind the closed kitchen door with her ear pressed up against it, scratching her muzzle. Why would Rarity be so worked up about this? It must be really fun. She sprang into the air. I know, I can get my cutie mark in scissoring, and I know just the pony who can help. Sweetie Belle galloped towards Sweet Apple Acres at full tilt, her mane flapping in the wind. It did not take her long to reach the farm. Where she soon saw Applejack hauling buckets containing myriads of apples into the barn. Applejack mopped her brow with her hat when she spotted Sweetie. "Howdy, Sweetie Belle. What can I do ya for? Is Apple Bloom home? I just got this great idea for us to get our cutie marks." Unable to contain her excitement, Sweetie Belle hopped up and down, and her eyes darted everywhere in search of her friend. Applejack chuckled and gently placed a forehead on Sweetie's head, in hopes of stopping her bouncing. "Settle down there, partner. Abby's working the fields with Big Mac until just past lunchtime." She grinned down at the hyperactive Sweetie. "So if you don't mind me asking, what's the big idea for them getting your cutie marks this time?" Smiling proudly, Sweetie puffed out her chest and held a forehead into the air. "Scissoring!" she proclaimed. Applejack's eyes grew as wide as dinner plates. "Say what?" "Scissoring! I heard you the first time." Applejack stomped the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. "What you doing thinking about that sort of thing at your age? Rarity will know about this before sundown, mark my words." Unsure of what she did wrong, Sweetie traced a forehead on the ground. Actually, she gave me that idea." Applejack recoiled so violently that her head flew into the air. "Your own sister? What in tarnation?" She stood there for several seconds, her face quivering and her chest heaving. "All right, I ain't no mother or sister of yours, but you need to leave and go to your room until you've thought long and hard about this. No sister of mine's going to be scissoring until long after she's gotten her cutie mark. Go on, scat." Bewildered, Sweetie shuffled backwards until Applejack had returned to her chores, and then she tracked towards Rainbow Dash's house. "Rainbow! Rainbow Dash! Hey, Rainbow! Are you up there?" Sweetie looked up at Rainbow's cloud house. There was no answer. Just as she turned to leave, she heard a familiar squeaky voice. "Hey, kid!" She looked up and saw Rainbow circling above her. Rainbow touched down in front of her. "What's up?" "Applejack yelled at me." Sweetie's ears wilted like flowers that had gone too long without water. "How come?" Rainbow arched an eyebrow and flapped her wings. "That's not like her." "Well, maybe you could help me." Sweetie looked into Rainbow's eyes with hope. "Twilight did mention you when she was talking about this." Rainbow pointed to herself. "Well, I'm awesome. So what is it? Ball bouncing? Elastic training? Being the coolest pony in Equestria?" Sweetie cleared her throat. "Actually, it's scissoring." Rainbow froze. "I overheard Rarity talking about how great it was, so I wanted to try it out. Maybe I could get my cutie mark in scissoring along with Apple Bloom and Scootaloo." Rainbow chuckled and patted Sweetie on the head. "Believe it or not, that stuff ain't for me. And it ain't for you either." She ruffled Sweetie's mane, but Sweetie did not mind the noogie. "At least, not yet. Maybe when you're older." "But why do I have to wait? Why can't I start scissoring now?" Rainbow shook her head. "Look, kid, I think I'm the wrong pony to ask about this sort of thing. Maybe I should just ask Rarity if she would scissor with me. It sounds like it could be a lot of fun for us to do." Sweetie grinned. "Fun sister activities? Fun sister?" Rainbow's jaw dropped. "Oh, would you look at that? I've got a ton of weather things to do. You know, skies to clear, clouds to kick." She chuckled uneasily before taking off into the cloudless sky. A lump formed in Sweetie's throat. "Why is it so hard to get any pony to talk about this?" She stomped off towards the carousel boutique. "I guess I'll have to scissor by myself." Sweetie crept through Rarity's room, taking care to make as little noise as possible. Rarity's eye cover would guarantee she would not be spotted, but her sister could be a light sleeper on occasion. "Now where does she keep the key?" Sweetie thought as she used her horn to illuminate the room as brightly as she dared. She knew Rarity always kept her storeroom key close at hoof in case inspiration struck in the middle of the night. Sweetie perused her left dresser, finding a few ornament magazines atop it. When she looked in the drawers, she only saw a few odd cylindrical objects of varying size, shape, and color. Sweetie turned her attention to the right dresser, checking the drawers first. Both were full of used and unused sheets of paper and dozens of pencils. "It must be here." She dug through a large stack of Fleur's secret catalogues before she found what she had come for. Stifling a gleeful shout, Sweetie snatched the key and struggled to keep her pace measured as she reached the door. When she closed it behind her, a few magazines toppled softly onto their owner. Sweetie cantered towards the storeroom, clutching the key in her mouth. When she arrived, it took only a few moments of fiddling before the door swung open soundlessly. Her horn's glow shed light on the neatly stacked boxes sorted by fabric, type, and color. She briefly scanned the room, searching for the fabrics that would probably feel the best. Settling on silk, she slid the top off a case of hot pink fabric. A long sheet floated towards Sweetie at her command, coming to rest just in front of her forehoofs. "Now, where are they?" She turned her attention to a heavy set of drawers on the wall, opening each one and peering inside. In the third one, she found what she sought. "Aha!" Sweetie's forehoof clutched a long pair of scissors. She brandished them at the fabric, snipping at the air experimentally. Now to see what all the fuss is about. The first cut Sweetie made was hesitant, almost shy. It felt just like it always had when Rarity asked her to help cut material when she had large dress orders. Except she felt a little guilty doing it without permission at midnight. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Sweetie made more cuts, going faster this time. She looked at her flank. Aw, still blank. What if... She began shredding the silk with reckless abandon, shearing off sections big and small in the most erratic manner she could. This is kind of fun. Before long, the room looked as if opalescence had been trapped inside for a week and decided to vent her frustration on some of Rarity's finest salmon-colored silk. Sweetie took a moment to survey the destruction she had wrought. Still nothing. Why is scissoring such a hot topic then? She looked at the other boxes of stored fabric. I guess I need to try with different kinds? Sweetie had scarcely opened a case of cyan-colored minky when the last voice she had wanted to hear in Equestria came bellowing from behind her. Vandals! The scissors flew from Sweetie's grasp as they impaled themselves on the floor as she leapt high into the air. Rarity, Rarity, it's me! Rarity blinked, staring first at Sweetie, then the scissors, and the ruined silk strewn about the place. What happened, darling? Where's the vandal? Did you get him? Rarity. Sweetie could not meet her sister's gaze. It was me. I did it. You did? Rarity clapped her forehoofs to her muzzle. But why? Because I heard you and Twilight talking about scissoring yesterday, and I wanted to try it. Beads of sweat appeared on Rarity's face, which went a brilliant shade of magenta. You heard that? Sweetie nodded. Oh dear. She slumped backwards, putting all her weight on her haunches. Scissoring does not mean to cut, dear. It means... Sweetie leaned forward. What? What does it mean? More blood rushed into Rarity's cheeks. How do I put this? It means... I'd love to tell you, but it's a secret, came Pinky's chirpy voice from behind them. Rarity bolted upright. Pinky! Pinky hopped between Rarity and Sweetie. What? We did arrange for another scissoring party, right? Well, I checked my super-duper partyific watch, and what you know? It said it's party time. Pinky, dear, that thing always says it's party time. Rarity's head drooped. Pinky giggled. I know. That's why it's so super-duper. Sweetie raised a hoof. So, wait a minute. You only do it with ponies you really like, right? Pinky winked. You betcha. It's a fun game for us older mares only. Don't worry, I promise it'll be one of the super fun games at your graduation party. But that's years away. Rarity rested a hoof on Sweetie's shoulder. The wait will be worth it, dear. It's something mares do with other mares when they have a special connection. Oh! Sweetie hugged Rarity and nuzzled against her. So I can scissor with you when I'm all grown up. Rarity went rigid as a board. What? Not noticing her sister's change in posture, Sweetie noted emphatically. When I'm a grown-up mare, I'll scissor with you, and it'll be super special and... Rarity nudged Sweetie away. No, darling, you don't do it with family. But you just said it had to be with a special some ponies. Sweetie pouted with uncanny similarity to her sister. Yes, but not family. Rarity shook her head and made a cutting motion with her forehoof. The apples on their other hoof may sink differently, but that's not the norm. Sweetie perked up. Oh, I know. I'll just ask Scootaloo. Great idea. Pinky nodded. I'm sure Dashy will give her a few pointers once she's old enough. Rarity arched an eyebrow. With all those Sorin posters? Her hoofs shuffled on the ground as she tried to hold back a gale of laughter. Pinky, darling, you just have no idea. You do know her walls are clouds, right? Pinky spoke through her forehoofs, which stifled merriment of her own. She has stuff on her walls too. Big, neat, that fits perfectly in her walls. Are we talking about her pastimes or her interior decoration? Pinky shrugged. I don't know. I think she spends a lot of time decorating her interior, especially with ponies like you. It doesn't make a lot of difference. She winked at Rarity. During this exchange, Sweetie had sat down, scratching her head. I don't get it. Pinky hopped around Rarity and Sweetie on her seemingly spring-loaded hooves. Wait till you're older. If you're anything like Rarity, you'll get into it in a few years. A lot of it. Pinky! Sweetie leapt into the air, flailing her forelegs. You guys... The two mares stared at her in silence. You still haven't told me what scissoring is. What's the big secret? Oh! Pina leaned forward until her muzzle was up against Sweetie Belle's ear. "It's," she whispered a vivid and detailed description of scissoring to her. Sweetie's jaw dropped lower and lower as Pinky explained. When Pinky had finished, Sweetie scampered backward and yelled, "Eh!" Before Rarity could comfort her, Sweetie bolted past her, screaming at the top of her lungs. Rarity rubbed her temples. "Pinky?" "Yes? You know that special punch of yours?" "Yeah." Rarity took a deep breath. "I'm going to have to round her up and calm her down. After this is over, I think I'll need a nice big cup." "Okie dokie Loki!" Something shattered somewhere in the boutique. It sounded expensive. Rarity winced. "On second thought, make that 3. Okay, every pony, I must admit, I never ever expected this. It's the first time I read that fic, and after cutting, it will most likely be half the size it is now, because I did not know the term scissoring. Okay, so after I read the description, I imagined everything, but not this. Really? I'm just so amused right now. If you could see me, my grin goes from ear to ear. Sincerely yours, Visual Pony.
Okay, every pony, here I am once again. Visual Pony, bringing you a few short stories today. I thought I'd take it slow a little, since I'm not feeling too well, and because I released some stories with pretty long chapters recently, and that is why I'll bring you a few shorter ones this time. Hope you enjoy it. The first one I'm going to read to you is Pinkie Pie's Secret by The Loveless. Link is in the description, as always, and I hope you enjoy. Pinkie Pie's Secret by The Loveless. How to Wake a Baby Dragon. "Hey, Spike! 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 Wake up! Spike!" Pinkie Pie poked Spike's little button nose. "Wake up! I need to tell you something, Spike!" She poked him once more. "If you won't get up willingly, I'll make you get up." The pink mare grabbed Spike's cheeks and began to move them around, squashing his scarly face between her hoofs. "Get up, silly!" Eventually Spike woke to an overly happy pony, smiling and messing with his cheeks. "What do you want, Pinkie? It's 1 o'clock in the morning. How the hell did you even get in? Twilight always triple-checks the locks before bed." He swatted at Pinkie's hoofs, saving his face from the pink pony's attack. "I need to tell you something important." Pinkie ignored Spike's question about how she entered the treehouse, leaving Spike to simply chalk it down to ninja skills. She obediently stopped playing with Spike's cheeks and moved on to poking his nose with every word. "I need you to come with me. I have to tell you in secret." She looked up at Twilight's bed, making sure the unicorn was still asleep. Surely enough, she was still snoring away, seemingly reciting the first 50 places of P in her sleep. "Can you come? It won't be too long, please." She gave her signature Pinkie smile and peered down at Spike until he answered. "Fine, Pinkie, but once you're done, can I go back to bed?" "Yippity yippee yippers!" Pinkie sprung up off the floor and to a window, launching herself out of it and landing in a bush. Spike just opened the door and walked with Pinkie, shaking his head at her antics. "Pinkie, where are you taking me? If Twilight wakes up and I'm not there, she'll probably set up a search party." Spike huffed in annoyance, as he had to jog lightly to keep up with Pinkie's innocent bouncing, nearly tripping over a few rocks under in the low light of Luna's moon. Pinkie simply giggled and sped up her, springing along, turning back to look at Spike to make sure he was still following. "It's not too far by now. By the way, I like your PJs, Spike." Spike glanced down at his bright blue pajamas, the pattern of sapphires stitched into them. "Thanks, Pinkie. Rarity made them for me, as a reward for helping her dig for gems." After a few minutes of walking along, Pinkie stopped and dragged Spike into a house too dark to see properly. "Pinkie, can't you just tell me already? I want to go to bed." A particular low grumbling in his voice emerged. Pinkie turned on the lights to reveal a light pink room with only a door, a set of chairs, and a lamp. "Okay, I can tell you now."
Pinky plopped down into one of the chairs, the springs creaking in slight protest as a plumpish pink party pony bounced in it. "Spike, you can sit over there." Her hoof guided Spike to a large chair that looked like it could seat Princess Celestia herself. As instructed, he sat, making himself comfortable in the strangely large chair. "Okay, Pinky. Is there any reason why Twilight can't know about this?" Pinky had an eager look on her face, her normal hyperactive excitement dying down, leaving her calmer yet still overzealous. "Yes, there is one reason. Spike, can you keep this a secret, even from Twilight?" She stared intensely at Spike, who gazed back warily, both hoping they wouldn't have to make a Pinky promise. Spike sighed grumpily. "Yes, Pinky, I'll keep a secret. Now, just tell me already. I want to know." "Spike, I think I love you." Spike buried her face in her hooves in embarrassment, hiding it from view. "Do you love me too?" Pinky closed her eyes tightly, hoping for the best. Spike suddenly whispered into Pinky's ear, making her jump a bit. "Pinky, I can't say no to you." Spike wrapped his arms around her and gave the mare the hug she always deserved, one full of love and compassion. "I love you too, Pinkie Pie, almost more than I love gemstones, and you know how much I love gemstones." Pinky giggled at Spike's cheeky attitude and returned the hug, lifting Spike up. "I'm glad you do, Spike. I've been holding it in since you came to Ponyville." Pinky walked to the other chair and sat Spike next to her. "Spikey Wikey, you deserve this." Pinky kissed Spike's cheek and hugged him even tighter. Spike, not used to being kissed, blushed and tried to hide his face behind his claws. "That's so sweet of you, Pinky." He rubbed his cheeks against Pinky's foreleg, hoping his blush would go away, but it didn't. "I'd love it if I could hug you forever, but it just can't be done." "Oh, Spike, I will never stop hugging you." She kissed him once more and hugged him even tighter than she hugged any other pony, even the Cake Twins. "You're just too cute when you're blushing. I might just keep kissing you forever, too." Pinky let out a giggle at her ridiculous idea. Spike didn't seem to mind, and no pony could stop her. Spike looked up at Pinky as she resumed pecking at his scarly face, giggling as well. Pinky?" "Yes, Spike?" His blush worsened, but made him even more cuter in Pinky's eyes. "Would it be okay if kissed you? Pretty please?" He widened his eyes and gave Pinky his best puppy dog face, with sparkling eyes and a little pouty face. No pony, not even Discord, could resist such a cute face and the word please. "Oh, you're so cute!" Pinky's excitement had taken over her peace of mind. "Of course you can!" Pinky turned her cheek to Spike, eager for him to reciprocate her affections. "Go ahead, I won't bite, unless you're a muffin or a donut or, a big cupcake. But you're just a little baby dragon, not a big old pastry." Okay, Pinky." Moments later, Spike pressed his lips against Pinky's cheek. Surprisingly, she hugged him once more and lost it. She was throwing herself around and rolling in the chair with Spike. "Are you okay, Pinky? Your face is really pink. Oh, well, pinker than usual." Spike prodded Pinky's face, feeling the squishy softness of her cheeks. Pinky pulled Spike onto her belly and hugged his neck. "I'm okay. I just got so excited." Without any other warnings, Pinky kissed Spike, but not on the cheeks this time. She had kissed him on his lips, hoping she wouldn't be stopped. Spike just leaned into Pinky and followed, embracing the kiss. He reached around Pinky and hugged her one last time for that night before pulling away. Pinky, sad and unhappy, grabbed Spike once more and squeezed him. "Just remember, Spike, I'm always going to be here for you." She kissed his cheek once more as he walked out and back to the treehouse library. Spike walked away before realizing what had just happened, his face reddening again. "Someday, Pinky, I will hug you forever." Pinky, on the other hand, had different plans. "Soon, Spike, I will get you, but for now—" She hit the light switch and closed the door to the pink shed. "This was the best night ever. If only you were older, Spike. I'll give you a year or two." Okay, and here we come with the author's note. Author's note. "This story is bound to get hated, or I think it is. I hope you enjoyed. Constructive comments will be appreciated." As for my comment to this, I didn't think it was that bad, really. All that spike rarity shipping sometimes get a little boring. Yeah, I even thought about a story Twilight Spike once, and this one was really enjoyable. Okay, hope you liked this. Sincerely yours, Visual Pony. Okay, every pony, here comes another short story. This one is written by Mithril Morph, and its name is Bump Bump Sugar Lump Dump. I haven't read it like I do with all my other stories. It is just, well, this description caught my eye, and I hope you will enjoy it. Hopefully I will enjoy it too. And here it comes. Bump Bump Sugar Lump Dump by Mithril Morph. Bump Bump Sugar Lump Rump. Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon, the two wealthiest and most influential fillies in Ponyville, giggled as they completed their ritual high-class hoof bump. To the two spoiled fillies, it was their way of declaring solidarity against the forces of lower-class, poorly bred rabble, such as the three blank flanks they enjoyed tormenting at every opportunity. To every pony else, it was just one more clue as how stupid and shallow these fillies were. Why the hey do they bang their butts together like that? Anyway, Scootaloo wondered as the Cutie Mark Crusaders trotted to their clubhouse after the up-tense session of lame teasing from the two spoiled fillies and witnessing their silly ritual for what had been the 20,000th time. Because they're better than us, Applebloom said, rolling her eyes. And ponies who are better than you show it by doing things no sane pony would ever do. Prancing daintily on her hind legs, she trotted over to Sweetie Belle, one forehoof pressed to her forehead. "Rump, rump, sugar butt, hump," she squeaked in a mimican voice, wiggling her butt in Sweetie's face. The unicorn filly giggled. "Hey, cut that out, Applebloom," Sweetie said. "Hey, will you three just not?" a voice called from above. Rainbow Dash swooped upon them, a rare stern expression on her face. "Some of us really don't want to see fillies waving their butts around while we're trying to work." Applebloom giggled. "Sorry, Rainbow Dash. We were just making fun of Silver Spoon and Diamond Tiara and that stupid little butt bump they do." Rainbow blinked. "Stupid little butt bump? You've never seen it?" Scootaloo asked. Rainbow Dash shook her head. Applebloom raised an eyebrow at Sweetie Belle, who rolled her eyes and sighed. Assuming their positions, they copied the ritzy fillies more perfectly than either would be comfortable with if they stopped to think about it. Bump, bump, sugar plump, rump. They fell over giggling, even as Rainbow Dash stared at them, blinking. "They really do that? In public? That's—" Her composure cracked, and she started laughing. "That's so lame!" After having a good laugh over the whole thing, the Pegasus returned to the weather duties, and the Crusaders continued on to the clubhouse. The next day, Cheerilee led her class outside to play dodgeball. She was a little apprehensive about letting this particular bunch play that particular game, but she wanted them to get some fresh air and exercise, and she wanted to sample some blue bonnets that had mysteriously sprung up along the south wall of the schoolhouse, preferably without any pony noticing. With Cheerilee off hogging all the tasty rare flowers for herself, the game turned ugly fast. Snips and Snails had somehow managed to take out half the colts in the class and each other with one throw each. Most of the fillies were playing volleyball instead of dodgeball. Not intentionally, they just really sucked at it. And Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon were surgically, methodically, and cruelly picking off as many of their classmates as they could. Finally, it was down to the two spoiled fillies versus the Cutie Mark Crusaders. The three blank-flanked huddled to discuss a plan to deal with their nemesis. But somewhere along the way, Sweetie Belle had gotten her part of the plan confused, and the Crusaders wound up eliminating themselves without so much as touching their rivals. Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon were busy having a gloating victory laugh over their defeated classmates, perverse delight gleaming in their eyes at the sight of their peers lying around in the grass nursing various ball wounds. "Once again, we've proven that we are simply better than you losers in every way," Diamond Tiara said haughtily. She held her hoof out to Silver Spoon to instigate the ritual bump. Bump, bump, sugar plump, rump. The final chorus of rump was overshadowed by a loud squelching splattering noise, punctuated by a long, sharp whine of gaseous release. The playground froze. The colts and fillies stared in stunned, wide-eyed disbelief at what had just happened. In the middle of the finishing rump bump, Silver Spoon had crapped all over Diamond Tiara's rump. Oh my gosh, Silver Spoon said quietly, hooves pressed to her mouth in shock. I didn't. It was an accident. Boy, I'll say, Snips quipped. Diamond Tiara stood there, irises narrowed to pinpricks. What just happened? She asked shakily, disbelief in her voice. Your BFF or POOED BUTT, Scootaloo said, snickering. It was an accident, Silver Spoon cried. Diamond Tiara slowly craned her neck back to look at her flank and rump. Sure enough, her pristine colt, scrubbed daily with the finest imported shampoo and conditioner, was covered in fresh manure. Oh, Celestia's armpit, that did not just happen. It surely did, Applebloom said, snickering. After a moment, she added, stank flank. The entire class erupted into laughter, save Diamond Tiara, who was seething with rage, and Silver Spoon, who was mortified both at the damage she'd wrought to her beautiful friend and the fact that she'd just done something every foal stopped doing before they turned 2. But it was an accident, Silver Spoon whispered, tears brimming behind the lenses of her glasses. Diamond Tiara growled. I'll show you an accident, she roared, pawing the ground with a hoof, snorting steam. Eep! Silver squeaked. Diamond charged after her like an angry bull, and the terrified and embarrassed filly turned tail and ran as fast as her perfectly manicured little hoofs could carry her. As the 2 fillies left the schoolhouse grounds, the remaining fillies and colts could hear Diamond Tiara scream, Get back here! I've got something that belongs to you! I want you to have it back! All of it! The Cutie Mark Crusaders couldn't take it anymore. They rolled around on the ground, laughing so hard they nearly peed themselves. Cheerily trotted back around the corner, staring around at her laughing, screaming class. What's going on over here? Where are Silver Spoon and Diamond Tiara? They had some stuff to take care of, Applebloom said. As Cheerily tilted her head in confusion, the Crusaders looked at one another, nodded, and bump, bump, sugar lump, rump. Thankfully, no pony crapped this time. Author's note. I had the idea for this at 2:30 a.m. while on the toilet after reading a fic with DT and SS. Yeah. As to my comment to this, oh my god, she crapped on her flank. Oh my god. Had I imagined something like this, I most likely wouldn't have read it because I want to have some niveau on my channel. It was still funny though. Okay, hope you enjoyed this. Sincerely yours, Visual Pony. Okay, every pony, here comes another short story. This one is written by Misril Morph and its name is Bump, Bump, Sugar Lump, Dump. I haven't read it like I do with all my other stories. It is just, well, this description caught my eye and I hope you will enjoy it. Hopefully I will enjoy it too. And here it comes. Bump, Bump, Sugar Lump, Dump by Misril Morph. Bump, Bump, Sugar Lump, Rump. Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon, the 2 wealthiest and most influential fillies in Ponyville, giggled as they completed their ritual high-class hoof bump. To the 2 spoiled fillies, it was their way of declaring solitary against the forces of lower-class, poorly bred rabble, such as the 3 blank flanks they enjoyed tormenting at every opportunity. To every pony else, it was just one more clue as how stupid and shallow these fillies were. Why the hey do they bang their butts together like that? Anyway, Scootaloo wondered as the Cutie Mark Crusaders trotted to their clubhouse after the up-tense session of lame teasing from the two spoiled fillies and witnessing their silly ritual for what had been the 20,000th time. "Because they're better than us," Applebloom said, rolling her eyes. "And ponies who are better than you show it by doing things no sane pony would ever do." Prancing daintily on her hind legs, she trotted over to Sweetie Belle, one forehoof pressed to her forehead. "Rump, rump, sugar butt, hump," she squeaked in a mimicking voice, wiggling her butt in Sweetie's face. The unicorn filly giggled. "Hey, cut that out, Applebloom," Sweetie said. "Hey, will you three just not?" a voice called from above. Rainbow Dash swooped upon them, a rare stern expression on her face. "Some of us really don't want to see fillies waving their butts around while we're trying to work." Applebloom giggled. "Sorry, Rainbow Dash. We were just making fun of Silver Spoon and Diamond Tiara and that stupid little butt bump they do." Rainbow blinked. "Stupid little butt bump? You've never seen it?" Scootaloo asked. Rainbow Dash shook her head. Applebloom raised an eyebrow at Sweetie Belle, who rolled her eyes and sighed. Assuming their positions, they copied the ritzy fillies more perfectly than either would be comfortable with if they stopped to think about it. Bump, bump, sugar plump, rump. They fell over giggling, even as Rainbow Dash stared at them, blinking. "They really do that? In public? That's—" Her composure cracked, and she started laughing. "That's so lame!" After having a good laugh over the whole thing, the Pegasus returned to the weather duties, and the Crusaders continued on to the clubhouse. The next day, Cheerilee led her class outside to play dodgeball. She was a little apprehensive about letting this particular bunch play that particular game, but she wanted them to get some fresh air and exercise, and she wanted to sample some blue bonnets that had mysteriously sprung up along the south wall of the schoolhouse, preferably without any pony noticing. With Cheerilee off hogging all the tasty rare flowers for herself, the game turned Okay, everypony, the next one of the short stories I'm doing right now is The Cutie Mark Crusader Buccaneers by Jerry the House Ghost. I've only read the first few lines of it and I already am, oh my god, it's really funny so far, and I hope you will enjoy this. The Cutie Mark Crusaders Buccaneers by Jerry the House Ghost. "Arr! Steady as she goes!" Captain Bloomington III yelled out to her crew as their mighty ship, the Scooter Bloom Belle, followed the wind over the vast open ocean. "Breezy Belle!" "Yes, Captain?" Breezy Belle, master of the portside breeze and also the navigator on board, looked to her captain for orders. "How's the journey coming along?" "Swimmingly, Captain. At this rate, we'll be hitting the western shore by sundown." "Arr! Where's Scooter Doubloons?" "I believe I saw her in her quarters, Captain." "Do you mind fetching the lass for me, Breezy?" "Aye, Captain." "I can't hear you." "What?" "These seabirds rustling around our vessel and making a mess with it." "I still can't hear you, Captain. I'll just go get Scooter Doubloons for you." "What?" Breezy Belle turned around and began walking down the stairs to the crew's quarters. A rowdy seabird almost hit her in the face. "Arg! These blasted seabirds be cramping my style. Be best to be rid of 'em before we hit the shore." Breezy Belle karate-chopped the seabird out of the air. "Arr! 1 down and 45 to go. Grrr! This'll take a whole lifetime. I might as well be fishing for doubloons with a rope. Wait, Scooter Doubloons. Arr! I almost forgot about that salty dog." Breezy Belle continued to Scooter Doubloons' quarters. When she reached the door, it sounded like Scooter Doubloons was talking to some pony else. "Arr! You can't take the gold away from me. Not when I have me trusty flintlock by my side." Breezy Belle heard the sound of Scooter Doubloons' trusty flintlock going off. She opened a door and ran inside. "Grrr! What did Bloomington say about shooting stowaways?" "Arr! You startled me, you scurvy dog. I would have put a bullet through your head if I hadn't shot it out the window. Wait, who are you shooting at? I wasn't shooting at darn thing. I was bored and decided to make believe. Oh, well, Captain wants to see you on your deck. Breezy Bell and Scooter Doubloons made their way back to Captain Bloomington III.
I heard a gunshot below deck. Did you kill Breezy Bell?
No, I was fighting boredom, Captain.
Don't be fighting boredom on the ship, lass.
Aye, aye, Captain.
How much gold did we plunder from our last encounter with a rival ship, Scooter Doubloons?
Scooter Doubloons was master of doubloons. When she wasn't having a gunfight with boredom, she was counting doubloons. How some pony can sit down and spend all their time counting doubloons one by one, no pony knows.
I counted up to 854 before boredom tried to steal them. That's fantastic.
Captain Bloomington III paused for a second.
Wait, boredom isn't an actual pony, is she?
No pony knows, Captain. No pony knows. Scooter Doubloons brought her crewmates close together.
Legend has it that a long time ago, a pirate by the name of Longmane Silver sailed these very seas. Every one morn, when his crew was still sleeping, Longmane heard a noise coming from above deck. When he went to see what was making a quiet racket, he saw a beautiful mare with a long mane that flowed in the wind. The noise he be hearing was singing coming from that very mare. He couldn't resist their singing. No, he found himself walking to earth as if some pony else had taken over his body. Before he could reach her, his first mate came up the stairs, called to him. This startled the mare, who jumped off the side of the ship. When Longmane and his first mate looked into the water, they'd seen no pony at all. They'd be watching the water for 3 minutes straight, and they'd have watched it for longer, had they not been called back to duty. The mare they seen, they called a boredom. I'm pretty sure you've got your story all wrong. You see, I think it was Siren that Longmane Silver seen, said Breezy Bell. Grrr, I think for sure that it was boredom who they seen, Breezy. Grrr, I'm afraid it's been a siren, Scooter Doubloons, said Bloomington. Them sirens are known for your enticing songs. Grrr. That still doesn't change the fact that I seen a pony in my quarters, Captain. Hold on, Scooter Doubloons. There was actually another pony in your quarters? That's what I've been trying to tell you, Captain. You've been telling us stories of boredom, Scooter Doubloons.
Shiver me timbers, you're right. Grrr. They be hating off to our doubloons. We can't let 'em take our doubloons. If we don't got doubloons, I don't got a job on this ship.
Aye, this ship may still find a use for you. She needs some pony to swap her decks on a daily basis. Grrr! I can't be known as Scooter, damn it, Captain. Then let's find us our stowaway. Captain?
Started Breezy Bell.
Yes, Breezy? Might it possibly that a salty seabird flew in through Scooter Doubloons' window? That may be a possibility. Scooter Doubloons, is that what's a possibility?
No, I think not, Captain. If that were true, then that means I had a full conversation with the seabird.
You talked with a scurvy dog? Aye. And what did it say? I'm quite sure it was a she, Captain. She said, grrr, grrr. Yes, that be correct, Captain. Grrr. Let's catch that bulge rat before she makes off with our doubloons. And my job. Grrr. These seabirds be trying to tell us something, yelled Breezy Bell. Don't let 'em get into ya, Breezy. No, look.
Breezy Bell pointed to the bow of the boat. The seabirds were standing around in some kind of formation.
They be shaping words, Captain. What is it, Breezy?
Asked Scooter Doubloons.
Why do you need me to tell ya? I never learned how to read, grrr.
Scooter Doubloons lowered her head in shame.
It says we should check the brig. I'm surprised the birds know how to speak our language, said Captain Bloomington III. Let's go to the brig. Aye, aye, Captain, yelled Scooter Doubloons and Breezy Bell in unison. As the crew headed to the brig of the ship, Scooter Doubloons said to Breezy Bell, you've got to teach me how to read one of these days, Breezy. I think it would be very useful for me. It'd be useful for every pony, Scooter Doubloons. Why do you even have books in your quarters? I have no idea. Grrr. We're nearly at the brig, said Bloomington. The 3 crew members of the Scooter Bloom Bell peered into the brig.
Grrr. Who's that be in our brig, Captain?
asked Scooter Doubloons.
It be the skeleton of the last pony we hid in our brig, Scooter Doubloons. Who did we have in our brig last, Captain?
asked Breezy Bell.
I can't remember, Breezy. That probably contains why they be a skeleton. Why did the seabirds want us to go to the brig? They're birds. They probably were just walking around on the bow of our ship, Breezy Bell. Yes, Captain? How did you know the seabirds wanted us to come to the brig? I didn't. Then why did you say they wanted us to come to the brig? Grrr. Grrr, I thought it'd be a good idea at the time, Captain. We must return to the deck at once. Aye, aye, Captain, said Breezy Bell. Wait, grrr, there's a name tag on this here skeleton, said Scooter Doubloons. What be written on it? asked Bloomington.
Scooter Doubloons looked at the name tag, then back up at her crewmates.
I still can read, Captain. Then let's get ourselves back to the deck. If we're not on the deck soon, I'll have you both swap on the deck for days.
The 3 pirate fillies made their way back up to the deck of the Scooter Bloom Bell.
Grrr, those bilge-red seabirds be trying to stage a mutiny. They be steering the ship. Holy bonanzas! These birds are way smarter than Scooter Doubloons,
exclaimed Breezy Bell. That be true, you salty dog, agreed Scooter Doubloons.
Grrr, you be no better than those sea chickens. Grrr, I ain't no sea chicken. Are two, are not. You two keep it down. Does you hear other voices?
asked Captain Bloomington III.
I do, Captain. Where they be coming from? Breezy Bell asked. Shiver my timbers, yelled Captain Bloomington III. There be a vessel off to the starboard side. How did you not smell at the breeze, Breezy Bell? I'm the master of the port side breeze, Captain. This breeze be restrained from the starboard side. Grrr, then who's master of the starboard breeze? No pony, Captain. Remind me to recruit the master of the starboard breeze the next time we're docked.
Aye, aye, Captain, yelled both Breezy Bell and Scooter Doubloons.
Grrr, do my eyes deceive me? It be those bilge rats, Diamond Bird and Shivering Spoon. Shiver my timbers, Captain. Aren't they the ones who stole our branded goods the time before last?
asked Scooter Doubloons.
No, it be the time before that. Aye. Ready the starboard cannons. I don't think we have cannons, Captain,
said Scooter Doubloons.
Grrr, then we be getting in close for combat in this one.
Avast landlubbers, yelled Diamond Beard. Prepare to be boarded and having your ship be taken over by my first mate and I.
Be coming over here to taking our ship, then who be in control of your ship?
asked Breezy Bell. Grrr, our ship can be sent to Maney Jane's locker, for all I care.
True pirates never be hating on their own ship,
yelled Captain Bloomington III. Grrr, you lie, Bloomington.
True pirates never lie, Beardy. I think you might want to check the validity of their statement, Captain, said Breezy Bell. Grrr, don't question me, Breezy. Aye, aye, Captain.
You'll be walking the plank when the day's through, Diamond Beard. You and your scurvy first mate, Shivering Spoon.
Grrr,
retorted Diamond Beard. I be glad ye remembered the first name of my mate, Bloomington. Remember the last time ye encountered us?
Aye, I won't be forgetting me cutie mark for remembering names. That's for sure. Grrr. What we waiting for, Shivering Spoon? Attack them, bilge rats. Be you talking about them,
or the actual rats we got in the barge, Captain?" asked Shivering Spoon. "Grrr! I be talking about them. Now attack 'em before I make ya walk the plank." "Aye, aye, Captain. Will you be helpin'?" "I be, Diamond Beard." "I take that as a no, then." "Grrr, attack!" "Arr, fine!" Shivering Spoon hopped from her ship onto the Scooter Bloom Bell. "Those be fightin' birds. Prepare for a counter, mateys. Grrr!" "We are not actually fighting, are we?" asked Silver Spoon, taking a step back from the three fillies who were already swinging the hoofs through the air. "Huh? Of course not. We're just play fighting," answered Applebloom. "Well, I refuse to make physical contact with any of you three." "Are you serious? What are you afraid of?" "I don't want to catch chicken from Scootaloo." "I'm not a chicken," yelled Scootaloo. "If you're not going to fight them, then how are we supposed to win this?" asked Diamond Tiara. "As if you were going to win in the first place," said Applebloom. "Hey, I always win at whatever I do." "You wish," said Sweetie Belle. "Gah, you three are impossible to be around. Why did Silver Spoon and I even agree to this pirate thing? Just a big waste of time, I say." "Fine, be that way." Applebloom turned away from the two fillies who were walking away. "Does that mean we won the pirate battle?" "Yeah, I say it does," Sweetie Belle said excitedly. "And if we won our pirate battle, that means—" The three fillies turned their heads and looked at their flanks, which did not have cutie marks for being pirates. "Oh, come on!" "What would pirate cutie marks even look like?" asked Scootaloo. Out of nowhere, Pipsqueak swung in on a rope, with a cutlass in his mouth. "Arr! Ye be finding out soon if ye give me all your doubloons, ya landlubbers." "Oh, what's that?" The end. Author's note: "Arr! I hope ya enjoyed this here story. Be sure to leave your honest rating and maybe even a comment, ya scurvy dog. Grrr! Yeah, also here's a song." My comment to this: okay, yeah, seriously, there is a video embedded here. Title is Amnius Vox the Glitch Mob. And seriously, oh man, my poor lips. All this grrr and arr and oh my goodness. Oh, the description sounded pretty funny, and if you just read it for yourself, it is funny. But if you read it to record it, ouch, my poor throat. Okay, hope you enjoyed this. I at least thought it was pretty funny. And see you next time, Visual Pony. Okay, every pony, here comes the last short story for the day. Because after the Cutie Mark Crusaders Buccaneers, I'm getting a headache from all this arr and garr. Okay, this time it is... 1 second. Sweetie Belle finds a box of matches by the exhausted Brony. Sweetie Belle finds a box of matches. Beauty on a stick. Sweetie Belle sprawled onto the kitchen floor and let out a big, lethargic sigh. It was the middle of the day, and Rarity instructed her to stay out of her way while she worked on a dress for a very important pony. "Geez, Rarity," Sweetie Belle groaned. "Why can't you be more like Pinkie Pie? There's nothing to do in this house." The young unicorn made any attempt to entertain herself in this otherwise dull, boring kitchen. The barrel rolled across the floor for about a minute. She moved the table and the chairs to different spots in the room. In the last-ditch effort, she began opening every cabinet, drawer, and container in the kitchen she could get her hoofs on. This actually brought a smile to her face. She had no idea what to expect from inside. She found every kind of cutlery you could imagine, made of several different kinds of materials. Metal, plastic, wood, even crystal. It felt like a treasure hunt. Sweetie Belle looked back to the slowly growing pile of utensils on the floor behind her. "Wow, this is so cool! What else does Rarity have?" Sweetie Belle scanned the room for any stones left unturned. Her eyes met with one still closed, and she walked over to it and slowly pulled the metal handle outwards. She peered inside the wooden treasure box and found another box. Huh? What's this? Sweetie Belle reached into the drawer and pulled out a small, rectangular cardboard box. She put it close to her ear and shook it. Another smile formed on the filly's face as she heard the contents of the box rattle inside. After carefully inspecting the box, she figured out how to open it. She pushed in on one side with her hoof and watched as the treasure within was revealed on the other side. Sweetie Belle looked to see a bunch of small sticks with red tips. She carefully tipped the box and let one of the sticks fall into her hoof. She said, holding the stick close to her face. What is this? Not being able to figure it out, she placed it back in the box and slid it open and shut. She flipped the box over and saw some writing that was printed on the bottom side. She cocked her head and began to read aloud. Place red 5 for us and on the match firmly against striker end of side box. Sweetie Belle took a match out and did as the instructions said and continued reading. Quickly drag the match across the striker. Caution, flames burn upwards. Be mindful of positioning of active matches while holding. Sweetie Belle dragged the red tip across the side of the box and watched in awe as the chemicals sprang to life and created an orange light on the end of the stick. She watched as the flame slowly consumed the stick, gradually turning it black. Sweetie Belle rotated the match so it was pointed downwards. She then felt a painful sting sensation on her hoof and immediately dropped the match onto the floor. Ow! She yelped, surprised at the unexpected pain. Sweetie Belle rubbed her hoof in an attempt to alleviate the pain. Her eyes were drawn back towards the box and caused her eyes to sparkle. She picked up the box and pulled out another match. She lit it with ease and watched the little flame dance effortlessly. It was beautiful. Sweetie Belle found herself in a trance. She was enraptured by the magic, and her world shut out everything but her and the flame in her hoofs. Sweetie Belle, I smell smoke. What are you doing? A scream pulled the captivated filly out of her trance, as well as nearly giving her a heart attack. Being startled caused Sweetie Belle to drop the still-alight match onto the dish rack on the counter. Once again she found herself fixed on the rack as a dark ring formed around where the match had landed. It started as a light brown and then darkened quickly as the grey heat began to leave its mark on the fabric. Sweetie Belle heard the sound of her sister storming down the stairs. She snatched up the box in her teeth and quickly ran through the washroom out of the back door. She knew that Rarity would blow a fuse when she saw that she nearly set the house on fire. She figured that she'd just run off somewhere and lay low for a bit. Hopefully by the time she goes home, Rarity would have calmed down. The air was cold, and Sweetie Belle regretted not bringing a scarf, but it was probably wouldn't be a good idea to go back into the lion's den. Sweetie Belle ran to the stone bridge that spanned a creek near Fluttershy's cottage. She lowered herself down into the valley of the creek and nestled herself on a spot of dry land. She leaned back against the stone, relieved to be in a spot where she could take a breath. She closed her eyes and recalled the graceful dance of the flame. Once the flame died out in her mind, it quickly moved to when the match began to color the dish rack brown. She opened her eyes. I wonder what elf I could shit on fire. Sweetie Belle looked down to see the matchbox still in her mouth. She spat it out into her hoofs and took out a match and lit it. She opened her eyes. I wonder what elf I can hack on fire. Sweetie Belle looked down to see the matchbox still in her mouth. She spat it out into her hoofs and took out a match and lit it. She watched as the flame danced on the end of the stick until a sudden gust of wind blew it out. She looked out from her hiding space to see that the sun was going down. She shivered and regretted not taking the chance to go back into the lion's den for her scarf. She remembered the warmth of the flame and carefully lit another one. The tiny flame only managed to warm her muzzle. It was simply too small. To provide any real source of comfort, she needed something bigger. Something like a pile of leaves. That's it. Sweetie Belle remembered the sister camping trip she went on and somehow to probably start a fire. Sweetie Belle scraped together a small pile of dry leaves in front of her. She nodded, affirming herself for her ability to make a leaf pile. She pulled another match out of the box and lit it. Sweetie Belle carefully lowered the match down to the leaf pile and watched the flame lick the brown leaves. She shielded the flame with her empty hoof, and in a matter of seconds the leaves caught and a larger flame emerged. "Wow!" Sweetie Belle said in awe. "It's so nice and pretty." Sweetie Belle held her hoofs up to the flame. "It's so nice." Sweetie Belle relished in the warmth, and it brought her great joy for a short time. Seconds later, the flame ran out of leaves and to burn and went out. All that was left of the once beautiful fire was a string of white smoke rising from the ashes. "I need more. What else can I burn?" Sweetie Belle got up and crawled out from under the bridge. The moon was now visible in the night sky. The leaves crunched under her hoofs as she walked into town. "I've already set some of those on fire. I need something else this time. Something bigger." In the moonlight, Sweetie Belle's eyes caught a glimpse of a medium-sized tree. It swayed gently in the wind, and like a match, Sweetie Belle's face lit up with excitement. "That's perfect," she said, inspecting the tree from top to bottom. Sweetie Belle lit a match and held it up to the bark. Her smile quickly faded when she realized that the tiny flame would not be able to light the tree. This time she gathered a larger pile around the base of the tree and held a lit match up to it. The leaves quickly caught and created a roaring flame that licked the bark of the tree. Soon enough the trunk went up in flames. All over town, ponies were turning on their bedroom lights and poking their heads out of their windows, wondering what the commotion was. "Every pony's waking up to see my work. They all want to see the beauty that I created and mastered." Sweetie Belle took a deep inhale of the smell of burning nature, relishing every second of the odor. She was about to take another breath, but heard the all-too-familiar sound of her sister's loud scream. "Sweetie Belle, what are you doing?" Rarity screamed in confusion. Sweetie Belle turned to her sister and smiled. "Isn't it amazing? Look at it go! Do you have any idea what you have done?" "Creating something beautiful, just like you do," the filly said innocently. "I created something beautiful, but I couldn't just keep it to myself. I had to show every pony in Ponyville what I've done. So I set the tree on fire and every pony came to see it." Rarity was dumbfounded. She could tell that her sister was completely serious and that she was so proud of her work. However, she had no idea how to go about dealing with it. Her little sister has committed arson, but finding a way to explain to her that what she did was outright wrong was difficult. Rarity looked down at her sister and noticed something that wasn't there before. She blinked a few times, trying to make sure that she wasn't seeing things. What she saw didn't change. "Sweetie Belle, what is it? What is that on your flank?" Sweetie Belle looked back to see a fireball emblem emblazoned onto her flank. "Oh my gosh!"
Oh my god! Cool! Sweetie Belle is a pyromaniac! Oh my god! Cool! That's her special talent! Yeah, burn baby, burn! Burn Ponyville down! Oh my god! That's Sweetie Belle's special talent! Oh my god! Cool! This story was really good. I like it. Okay, sincerely yours, Visual Pony.
And here I continue with my readings of some short stories or one-parters. And this one is from Rainbow Bob and is called What I Learned About Friendship Is. Let's begin. I really enjoy the idea of it and hope you will too. What I Learned About Friendship Is by Rainbow Bob. Chapter 1. Hindsight Strikes Again.
Wait, this isn't an ice cream shop?
Discord said in sudden realization. The promise of sugar-induced dairy products was a cruel fabrication for the true nature of the room he had entered. A classroom. Yeah, about that, Twilight chuckled with a slight tinge of red seeping into her cheeks. We're going to get ice cream after...
I've been betrayed!
Discord said with a melodramatic air in his voice, holding a paw to his forehead.
A trap, led with the temptation of sweet and delicious ice cream. Why, Twilight, why do you hurt me so?
I only said that to make sure you... Discord was on the floor, holding desperately to Twilight's legs as tears formed in his mismatched eyes.
Is this what you enjoy, Twilight? Seeing me in pain and agony at your treacherous actions against me?
Discord squinted and grimaced with an expression of pure disgust.
If so, then I guess our friendship meant nothing after all.
Twilight pulled away her hoof from Discord's clingy grip and quickly backpedaled away. Discord! For crying out loud, I'm going to get you that ice cream. I just need you to do something quick for me.
Ah-ha! I see how it plays now,
Discord proclaimed, already back on his feet and inspecting his scholarly surroundings.
Scratch my back, and I'll give you a sensational massage on yours type of deal, huh? Very sly, Sparkle, very sly indeed.
There's nothing sly about this.
Au contraire.
Discord circled around Twilight, the refusionating animal limbs behind his back as he scrutinized the weirded-out alicorn.
The diplomacy aspect of your new royal title is already in effect. Pretty soon the pomposity of nobility and glamour of Hoym shall destroy your very being and soul.
Say what? Twilight barked.
Something about ice cream.
Discord leaned down and eyeballed her with a pupil the size of a dinner plate.
And me being dragged here by you and not receiving any. What's up with that?
Can you just take a seat so I can explain? Twilight asked, holding a hoof tentatively up to her forehead to elevate her approaching migraine. A vain attempt considering Discord is involved with it. Discord slumped down in the desk, which was much too small for a Draconicus of his size, and stared dejectedly at the single piece of paper before him. It was blank, with just a writing quill beside it. So, okay, now that you're seated we can...
That ice cream, right?
Discord interrupted, arms crossed and limbs downward to form a scowl.
Double chocolate, rocky road with strawberries and orange peels.
Yes, Discord, I'll get you that, Twilight agreed half-heartedly. But first, you need to complete this simple assignment.
Hey, I dropped out of college, so I didn't have to put up with this.
You went to college?
Yeah,
Discord shrugged.
I couldn't get a degree in art history. How do you think I'll be able to pull off your assignment, then?
Don't worry, Discord, it's quite simple. Twilight levitated over an inkwell filled to the brim and set it beside the paper. I just need you to write a friendship letter to Princess Celestia. I've done these reports tons of times.
You know, she's on the other side of the castle, right?
Discord asked, bored, cheek hanging on his upturned arm as he blinked lazily.
I can just go and tell her this right now.
That's not the point, Discord, Twilight said, bringing out a couple of her own friendship letters she had on hoof. These letters are a testament to the study of friendship. Writing them betters our understanding of how friendship works.
Jeez, did you get a degree in friendship or something?
A doctorate, actually, Twilight replied, a not-so-subtle trace of smugness in her voice. But still, I think it'd be a wonderful idea for you to write a friendship letter to Celestia about what you've learned about friendship since the time you've been reformed. Discord threw his head back and grabbed either side of his jaw.
Oh, I don't want to do that. That'll take forever.
No, it won't, Discord. Twilight tried her best to assure the restless Draconicus. And I promise right afterwards you'll be getting ice cream. Just a short little bit of writing about what you've learned about friendship. I really think it'll be a learning experience for all of us.
A lame learning experience,
Discord muttered, already dipping his quill in some ink. What was that? Twilight asked, arching a brow. Does someone want ice cream or not?
Fine, fine,
Discord grumbled, laying the freshly wet quill tip on the dry parchment paper.
Dear Princess Celestia, what I learned about friendship is...
See, you're already making progress. Discord scowled, staring intently at those 9 words he wrote down. They stared back at him, mocking him, subjecting him with taunts. His hands shook uncontrollably as beads of sweat formed on his brow.
What I learned about friendship is...
Discord, are you okay? Twilight asked.
What I learned about friendship is...
Discord repeated, racking his brain so hard steam was pouring from his ears. He gritted his teeth and focused harder on the paper, but no other words appeared on the blank expanse of white. His troublesome paw couldn't be bothered to write anything.
What I learned about friendship is...
Oh, come on, Twilight sighed, dragging a hoof across her muzzle. It doesn't even have to be much. Just write down the sentence.
What I learned about friendship is...
10 words.
What I learned about friendship is...
Discord said once more, hyperventilating, while a river of sweat ran down his face. He grabbed a hold of his writer claw and forced it down to the page, the limp having taken on a mind of its own, so it couldn't write.
Damn you, finish this!
One more word, Discord. Just one. Twilight took a hesitant step forwards. You think you can manage that?
Why is it so hot in here?
Discord asked, tongue rolling out of his mouth as sweat ran free from his face. Suddenly Discord's hand jerked back, and he cried out, grabbing at it in pure agony while shouting.
My hand is cramping, Twilight. Make it stop.
Just one word, Twilight demanded, glancing over the desk to see the unintelligible scribbling Discord had scrawled. You're nearly there.
What I learned about friendship is...
Discord threw his paper up in the air and kicked off his desk. Jumping in the air, he threw himself at the window and crashed through it, shouting to all who bothered to pay attention or saw.
I'm too black for this.
Twilight watched Discord depart on a smoky leave of early absence, leaving her with a broken desk, window, and shards of glass covering the floor. In hindsight, I should have seen this coming, Twilight said, picking up Discord's letter to see what he had managed to jot down.
Dear Princess Celeste Sunbutt, what I learned about friendship is butts.
Twilight read from the page, and nodding her head, she crumpled up the letter to a crumpled wad and set it on fire with her magic. I definitely should have seen that coming. Author's note. There's a SpongeBob video here. Name is SpongeBob Driving Text Extra Credit. And the text below it. Yeah, this is a thing about that involving the story and SpongeBob. Do what you will. My comment to this. I think the story is pretty funny. I mean, I don't like SpongeBob, but I actually know this episode because a friend of mine made me watch it. But seriously, this one was very good. The story, not the episode. The story was very good. Okay, hope you enjoyed this. Sincerely yours, Visual Pony. Okay, every pony, here's another one-parter for you. It's called Daring Done by Aragon. I liked the description, and so I hope this will be a great story. And without further ado, let's start. Daring Done by Aragon. I should have written encyclopedias instead. Dear Miss Twilight's mom. Oh my gosh, I don't know where to start. So Twilight, your daughter, you know, who is one of my bestest friends in the world. No, she is my best friend in the world. So you're reading the words of your daughter's best friend, which is totally cool, right? Like, you know me and I know you, and we get along pretty well, right? Well, okay, we didn't really talk at the royal wedding or at Twilight's crowning, but we did say hello and all, right? Right? Oh, sorry, I got sidetracked. So, Twilight, again my bestest friend, got a little drunk today. Like, not really drunk, because we both know that Twilight is awesome and she doesn't drink at all. Unless you're cool with it, in which case I guess she drinks a little. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The thing is that I went to Twilight's house today because I wanted to borrow a book from the library. A Daring Do book, because they're my favorite and they're the best books ever. And then Twilight and me decided to taste some ciders that Applejack had brought there. You should try it. It's very good. Daring Do should drink a lot of cider. I think it suit her character. And then Twilight got a little drunk. I think I already said that. So we started to talk, and then we started to talk about Daring Do, because she's so awesome, oh my gosh! And then Twilight said that it was totally a secret, but you are Silky Dusk! She told me that you are Daring Do's author! I can't believe I know one of my heroes! Being honest, part of me hoped that you were a Wonderbolt, because that would be super awesome, but who cares? You are Daring Do's author! Oh my gosh, I totally need to see you and ask you about the series. I have a lot of questions, and all makes sense now. Twilight is the one who recommended the books to me in the first place. Isn't she cool? And there are a lot of subtle hints in the stories, like I knew there was something fishy in the scene where Daring Do starts thinking about the Temple of the Sparkling Twilight. And now I think I get why it is called like that. And I don't know what else to say. I'm your biggest fan, Miss Twilight's mom. I own all your books. Well, not exactly, because I prefer borrowing them from your daughter. But that's even better, right? Could you please sign me an autograph or dedicate me a book? And I've been writing a fanfic about Daring Do. You need to read it when it's over. I'll take a couple of days off from my job so I can concentrate on it better. Oh my gosh, I still can't believe I know Daring Do's author. Always your biggest fan, Rainbow Dash. P.S. Spike here. Sorry for all the caps. She wanted me to make sure you got all the emotion in her words. Dear Rainbow Dash, I'm very glad you like my books. It means a lot to me, and yes, my daughter is quite the wonderful filly. Please don't tell any pony that I'm Silky Dusk. I don't want to be famous. That's the reason why I use a non-de plum after all. With regards, Twilight Velvet. Dear daughter, okay, Twilight, you're the leader of the Elements of Harmony, and I'm very proud of you. You're a princess too, which is nice. And you have always been very good in your studies. Every parent would love that. However, you had the one and only rule that I forced upon you, and that was never, and I repeat, never, telling any pony that I was a writer of the Daring Do novels. I swear to Celestia that this family already has too much fame, with both you and your brother being royalty now. Me being a celebrity is the last thing we want, so make sure your friend doesn't let the news spread around. Also, what's that thing about cider? Young filly, I don't want to hear about you being drunk ever again. You know what happened to your uncle. With love, although very pissed off, Mom. P.S. I still haven't finished the chapter I'm working on right now, but as soon as I do, I'll send it to you via Spike, so you can proofread it. Try not to drink too much while you're at it. You might end up showing it to your neighbors. Dear Mom, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I didn't want to say a word, promise. It's just that Rainbow is a very good friend, and she really loves your books, and, well, the cider was pretty strong that night, I guess. The thing is, I never wanted to reveal your secret, and I'm sure that Rainbow Dash will behave and won't say a word about you. I made her Pinky promise me that, and trust me, that means serious business. About the cider, please, Mom, I'm an adult now. Plus, Uncle Claret had a wine-drinking cutie mark. His fate was worse or less given. Don't worry, I will not become like him. Signed, Twilight Sparkle. Dearest Mom, so Twilight told me that I should never ever say something about you being the author because you don't want to be famous. I don't really understand that, but I can keep a secret. I never told any pony that Twilight likes to drink a couple of sips of wine every night, right? Well, I guess I just told you that, and Spike. But that doesn't count. You're her mother, so you had to know it already. Also, I've been working on my fanfic about Daring Do a lot, like I promised. It's getting better and better by the second. Daring is in a spaceship right now, and I've already written the villain's song. Oh, it's going to be so good. You're going to love it. Still your biggest fan ever, Rainbow Dash. Dear Mom, Love the new chapter, Mom, especially the part about Dusk Shine being a drunk hobo that does nothing but cry because he disappointed his mother when he was young. I have to say you are a very good writer, but subtlety is not your forte. I learned my lesson about keeping secrets. I even sent a letter to the princess, so you can see it's as official as a friendship lesson can be. Or family lesson, I don't know. Does that exist? I think it should. Shining sure got a family lesson about me when the royal wedding happened. And I think this lesson also applies here. You can trust Twilight Sparkle. Yes, I made a mistake, but come on. I've been keeping this secret since I was 3 years old, and this was the first time I said a single word about it. Also, the wine thing was a lie. Rainbow Dash lies a lot, trust me. That's what the family lesson is about. She is a total liar. I don't drink wine. With love, Twilight Sparkle. My most dearest Twilight Velvet. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you are Silky Dusk. Your daughter just sent me a letter rambling about keeping secrets and how adult and independent mares like her should be able to drink whatever they wanted. When she told me you are Silky Dusk, you've been Silky Dusk from the beginning. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. You're my hero. You're my favorite writer. I have all your books twice. I know all your stories by heart. I'm totally getting the royal carriage and going to your house right now. Oh, I can't wait to tell Luna the news. She also loves your books. With all my admiration, Princess Celestia. Dearest daughter, what the everlasting Tartarus did you say to the princesses, and why are they in my house, and why are they looking at me with puppy eyes? I swear to you that next time I see you, you're going to get so grounded that you're going to forget what the stupid sky looks like. Do something about this right now. Signed, Twilight Velvet. Dear Mom, I'm an adult and you can't ground me. We're not even living together, for Celestia's sake. I can do whatever I want now, and you can't do anything about it. Well, except for getting the princesses out of your house. I mean, Mom, I'm sorry, but they are the princesses. I'm afraid you'll have to cope with them on your own. Also, sorry for telling them. I thought they already knew. With love, Twilight Sparkle. Dear daughter, you are a princess too. If there's any pony out there who can do something about the 2 crazy alicorns in my house, it's you, for crying out loud. So do something. And do it quickly, because Celestia is trying to find my next book outlines, and I can't tell her a thing because Luna doesn't leave me alone for a second. She's been asking me about the relationship between Daring and Sugar Song for the last 3 hours. Do something. Signed, Mom. Dear Mom, if Princess Luna doesn't leave you alone, how are you sending me these letters? Signed, Twilight Sparkle. Dear Twilight, do you really think that's the most important thing to worry about right now? Signed, Twilight Velvet. Dear Mom, well, excuse me if I'm curious. Also, why did you sign the last letter with your name instead of writing Mom, like always? Are you angry at me? Signed, Twilight Sparkle. Dear Twilight, are you really wondering if I'm angry? I thought the fact that every single word in this letter is capitalized would give you a clue. Get the princesses out of my house right now, or so help me. Signed, your mother, who is so angry at you right now that she doesn't even remember her name. Dear Mom, oh, I'm so sorry, but I don't know what to do. Maybe the princesses will go away at dinner time? I'm sure they have royal issues to attend to after all. Also, I thought that you were writing in all capitals because you had changed your calligraphy. It sure looks prettier than your usual handwriting. Signed, Twilight Sparkle. Dear daughter, what in the name of daring do is wrong with you today? You're being dumber than ever. I can't understand what's happening to you unless... Oh, my Celestia, no. Please tell me you're not drunk right now, because heavens help me if you're drunk right now. I swear upon the fires of Tartarus that I will go to Ponyville by hoof and spank you in the rear until you can't sit for 3 straight days. And speaking of Celestia, she's still trying to find what I've written for the new book. Do something about it. Signed, your mother. Dear Mom, no, I'm not drunk. I'm working on getting the princesses out of there as soon as possible, though. With love, your daughter, who is not drinking wine at all. Dear Spike, tell me right now if my daughter is holding an alcoholic beverage at the moment of this delivery. Signed, Twilight Velvet. Dear Mom, I told you I'm not drinking, it's your imagination. Also, I still don't understand how you are sending me these letters if you are so busy with the princesses. Signed, Twilight Sparkle. Dear Spike, I asked you, not my daughter. And if you try to fool me by sending a letter written by Twilight instead, or if you lie to me, I'll know. Signed, Twilight Velvet. Dear Mom, yeah, no matter what I say, I get in trouble. So if you'll excuse me, I'll keep on working as a mailbox instead. Signed, Spike. Dear daughter, the situation has finally calmed. The princesses are gone now, because the royal guards had some important issue to handle in the castle and needed them. I'm going to assume that you contacted your brother and both planned the whole thing together, and for that I thank you. Now that I'm a little more calmed, I can see that I overreacted a little. Writing such a chain of missives in capital letters was not very mature on my part. I'm still disappointed at you for telling my secret to the princesses, though. At least they promised not to tell any pony. We'll talk about this and the wine issue next time we see each other face to face. Now I think I'm going to sleep. Today has been the most tiring day in my life. With love, Mom.
Dear Twilight, your mother almost had a heart attack today. I have to admit that I had never laughed so much in my whole life. Turns out Luna is a Sugar Dew fan. Who would have thought? Celestia just likes the adventure, although she's sure she knows how the story is going to end. She's been talking about her series all evening. If only you could have heard them. They are even crazier than yours. Anyway, good job getting rid of them, and don't worry about your mother. You know how she is. She'll forget about this in a couple of weeks. Also, the wine goes surprisingly well with cheese. You should try it. With love, Dad.
Dear Twilight Velvet, I'm very sorry for being forced to leave your house yesterday so early, especially because we weren't able to finish our talk. However, even though my royal duties prevent me from going there again in at least 2 days, we can still continue our conversation via letters. So, as I was telling you when we were interrupted, I think that the best part of Sugar Song and Daring Do's relationship is how they complement each other. Sugar Song is the most intelligent pony in the Daringverse, and there's no doubt that who is the most brave and strong mare there, so they make the best pairing that could ever be. I'm completely sure that you wrote them like that completely on purpose. They're so cute together. Also, when are they going to kiss? Is it in the next book? I sure hope it happens in the next book. With respect and adoration, Princess Luna. P.S. I'm writing a song about the chapter in which they spend a whole night trapped in the Temple of the Sparkling Twilight. By the way, that name is a metaphor for their love, right? You'll love it. Dear Twilight Velvet, I'm very sorry we couldn't stay as long as we wanted in your house, but being a princess has its downsides. However, Luna and I have planned our schedule to the 2nd, and we're getting 3 days off in 48 hours, so don't worry. We'll be there. I know that you could also come to the palace, but then you would be out from your Temple of Inspiration, right? Do you think it would be possible for you to ride in front of Luna and I? It would mean so much to us. Also, don't try to argue with Luna about the whole Sugar Dew thing. She likes that kind of stuff, but we both know that Daring Do is not about romance, it's about the adventure. And the mystery, of course. Did I mention that I believe I already guessed what the ending is going to be about? Oh, I'm sure you'll love to hear more about my series. 3 hours is not enough to explain everything. With respect and admiration, Princess Celestia. Dear Miss Twilight's mom, I finally did it. I finished my fanfiction. It's about Daring Do going to outer space and then fighting some villains and being awesome in general. I'm sure you'll love it. I'll be awaiting your opinion. Still your biggest fan, Rainbow Dash. P.S. Still waiting for the dedicated copy of the book. Dear Princess Luna, I sure enjoyed our talk, but I'm afraid I'm too busy right now to actually answer your questions. Besides, telling you anything about what's going to happen would be against my personal policy. I'm sure you'll understand, Your Highness, that there's nothing better than buying the next book without having any idea what's going to happen. Sincerely, Twilight Velvet. Dear Princess Celestia, I sure enjoyed our talk, but as I already said to your sister, I can't really answer any of your questions, as it would be against my personal policy. And I'm awfully sorry, but we don't have spare beds that could suit you and Princess Luna. We wouldn't like to offend you by offering you something that would not be worthy of the royal sisters. Sincerely, Twilight Velvet. Dear Rainbow Dash, thank you for your efforts. I'll be sure to read your story when I have time. Signed, Twilight Velvet. Dear daughter, please tell me there's some way to block my mail. Signed, Mom. Dear Mom, regular mail can be blocked if you go and ask the post station, although they will ask you why. If you say that they are being stalked via the mail, they will help you, I'm sure. However, magical mail, like the one we are using right now, can't be blocked. Why are you asking me this? You sound worried. With love, Twilight Sparkle. Dear Twilight Velvet, worry not about us. We don't mind about sleeping in normal beds. With respect and admiration, Princess Celestia. Dear Princess Celestia, when I said we didn't have any beds worthy for you, I meant that we don't have any spare beds or sofas. I'm afraid we had to throw them away this afternoon, as we discovered they had termites. It's a real shame. Sincerely, Twilight Velvet. Dear Twilight Velvet, we'll bring the sleeping bags. Mine has a Daring Do face on it that glows in the dark. With respect and admiration, Princess Celestia. Dear Twilight, keep the princesses away from my house, or so help me. I'm surrounded by idiots. At this rate, I'm going to kill some pony. With love, Mom. Dear Dad, what's the deal with the princesses, and why is Mom angry at me now? With love, Twilight Sparkle. P.S. The cheese goes amazingly well with wine indeed. Thank you for the tip. Dear Twilight, the princesses want to spend the weekend in my house, and I need the weekend to write. I don't want to hear Celestia's series about how Daring Do has been dead the whole time, or Luna's crazy nonsense about Sugar Song and Daring Do making out. Why in the holy name of Starswell the Bearded did you have to tell any pony that I was Silky Dusk? With love, Mom. P.S. What's that thing about the wine and the cheese? Dear Mom, I thought Sugar Song and Daring Do were going to get together by the end of this new book. The romantic subtext between them is very strong after all. Anyway, the princesses are actually planning on going there for the weekend. I guess I can ask Shining Armor to help us again. The Royal Guard will work things out, I'm sure. Also, did you read my letter to Dad? Mom, you need to respect my privacy. Signed, Twilight Sparkle. Dear Twilight, privacy my rear. I'm your mother. I do what I want with your letters. And there's no romantic subtext in my books. Stop overanalyzing them. Daring Do has a nice head and she fights monsters. There's nothing else to say about it. Hoping that you will stop dancing around the issue instead of actually helping me. Mom. Dear Mom, I'm afraid that Shining Armor can't help us. Apparently the princesses have everything planned out, and even if there's an emergency, they can't reach them. So I'm afraid you'll have to cope with them for the whole weekend, because I see no solution. Besides, they can't be as bad as you make them sound. I'm sure you're exaggerating a little. With love, Twilight Sparkle. Dear Miss Twilight's Mom, it's been a couple of days and I haven't received a letter from you. I'm telling you this because I'm sure there's no way you haven't sent me your opinion on my fanfic. It's only 500 pages long after all, so maybe the letter has been lost or something. You should send it again as soon as possible. Waiting, but still your best fan, Rainbow Dash. Dear Twilight, if you don't come up with something to get the princesses away from my house, I swear that I will kick them out myself and then move to the Crystal Empire. You're the one who caused this. Take responsibilities. Use your fancy Alicon superpowers or something. With love, your mother. Dear Miss Twilight's mother, hey, as your answer got lost again, what bad luck, huh? I decided that we should talk face to face about my fanfic. But don't worry, you don't need to come here to Ponyville. I already bought tickets to Canterlot. We'll be there tomorrow, because I don't need to work on weekends. Cool, huh? Twilight will come with me, and I'll be sure to bring a lot of papers and books so you can sign them all. I will bring another copy of my fanfic just in case we can read it together. I make an awesome Daring Do voice. You need to hear my impression. See ya tomorrow. Signed, Rainbow Dash.
Dear Shining Armor, so apparently we're having a princess sleepover in the house tonight, for reasons that I don't really get. Do you want to come here and bring Cadence? It will be like a family reunion, but with your mother yelling at the walls in frustration, Celestia talking about how Daring Do is either a ghost or a velociraptor cleverly disguised, and we just don't see it. Luna singing us a song she has composed about her favorite Sugar Do moment, and Rainbow Dash. This house is going to end up getting more feathers than a pet store. Bring popcorn. With love, Dad. Dear Dad,
Of course we can go. I told Cadence about the idea and she said that it would be lovely. I also commented that Silky Dusk is just the nom de plume of Mom, and she got really excited. She is a real fan, you know. She wants to show Mom all her poems she has written about her books. Isn't she adorable? I'm sure Mom will love them. See you all in a couple of hours. Signed, Shining Armor, Prince of the Crystal Empire.
Dear Mr. Nightlight, we are saddened to announce that your wife, Miss Twilight Velvet, is in the royal dungeon as of now, and we kindly ask you to come here to pick her up as soon as possible. Miss Twilight Velvet was found sneaking up in the royal library without permission at night, while yelling gibberish about traveling back in time so she could prevent both getting married and having children. Apparently that's by far the best way she was to spend her weekend. Her words, not mine. Once she got caught, she knocked out 2 of our guards and hurt 3 more while being driven to the dungeons. It's been 3 hours since then, and she is still yelling at the walls. Please come as soon as possible. We are terrified. Sincerely, the Royal Guard.
Okay, every pony, this time I bring you something that is not usually my genre. It is a romance comedy by notarealpony.com. It is called Absolutely Batty, or How to Misspeak with the Best Possible Results. I liked the first, I have read the first few lines on my cell phone, and I really liked it, and I hope you will enjoy it as well. It's a one-parter, which you can obviously see in the playlist I put it in. Okay, let's begin. Absolutely Batty by notarealpony.com, or How to Misspeak with the Best Possible Results. It was well past midnight on one of the warmest nights of the summer when, from high above the Canterlot castle, a bat mare stopped flapping her wings and began to plummet towards the ground. From his post just outside the entrance of the Canterlot gardens, which happened to be only a few yards from the exact spot the bat mare was plummeting towards, Bright Sky noticed this and sprang into action, spreading his wings and shooting up into the air in a single leap. With his eyes set on the falling pony and her path down through the sky, he sped forward with his hoofs outstretched, ignoring the complaints his wings had at being used so strenuously at such a late hour. The grimace on his face intensified as he accelerated, and the wind rushing past him caused his eyes to tear up. Blinking as little as possible, Bright Sky pushed, gritting his teeth as the pain in his wings intensified. The bat pony was getting closer, but it was too late, and she was already past him as he grasped and caught. "Yeah!" The mare screamed, thrashing wildly as her eyes snapped open and her head snapped back. She twisted her head to look up at the Pegasus gripping her tail tightly. She snarled at him, her eyes filled with a mix of horrendous pain and righteous fury. The Pegasus almost regretted stopping her fall. Almost. "What in the hay did you do that for?" the bat mare yelled through gritted teeth. Her wings unfurled, and she fluttered them to push her body into an upright position in the air. She winced as the pull on her tail slackened, and yanked the mass of faded blue hair out of Bright Light's hooves, grunting as more pulses of pain surged up through her body. "You could have torn my entire flank off, for Celestia's sake!" The Pegasus stared at the bat mare with an incredulous look on his face. He realized his hooves were still held up as though holding something, and he lowered them slowly as he watched the bat pony stroke her tail lovingly. She noticed him staring and, hugging the tail to her body, snapped at him. "Well, apologize!" Taken aback by the outburst, Bright Light fluttered backwards a little, as though the bat mare's snap had forced him that way. His mouth opened, but he could not immediately think of the proper response to the bat pony's demand. He simply floated there for a moment, staring at the mare with an unhinged jaw, before the words finally came to him. "Are you out of your mind?" he asked. "What?" But the words had come to him, and there was no stopping them now. "You decide to just stop flying, 200 yards off the ground? Then you get me into a panic, because from down there—" he gestured to the spot that he had meant to stay at. It looks like maybe you've seriously hurt yourself and are in the process of falling to your death. So that sends me rushing up after you, even though I've been working for over 16 hours straight already and my wings can't take much more of anything at all. And all the while I'm thinking, holy smoke, holy smoke, holy smoke, Bright Eyes is falling to her death and I might not be able to save her. Like you're actually in trouble. But when I finally catch you, it turns out that you are completely fine and just gave me a panic attack for no reason. And now you're asking me to apologize? Bright Eyes, the bat pony, glared at Bright Sky, the Pegasus, as she processed his rant in her mind. Realizing and hating that he had actually a point, she blushed and looked back down at her tail, hugged it tighter and mumbled, "You really could have hurt me, Sky." The Pegasus groaned and tilted his head back, staring up at the moon instead of over at the Batmare. He realized with a start that the adrenaline that had powered him through his speedy flight was beginning to wear off, and a wave of tiredness rushed over him, as well as one of nausea. He swallowed and turned back to the Batmare. "Yeah, well, you would have hurt me worse. What were you even thinking?" The Bat Equine continued to stroke her tail, an innocent and hearty look adorning her face. "If you must know, I was thinking something along the lines of, tonight's totally boring and Sky's being a stick in the mud again. I know, how about I try a trick while I keep watch?" She let her tail slide through her hooves back into its normal position, hanging between her hind legs, and put her front hooves on her hips as she tilted her head at Bright Sky and added, "Is that a sound enough explanation, Lieutenant?" "Not really," the Pegasus exclaimed. "What kind of trick is plummeting hundreds of hoofs to the ground?" Bright Eyes snorted and responded with a sneer. The kind where you keep your wings to your sides until you're at maximum falling speed, then break away at the last possible second and do a wide inverted loop straight upwards?" "That sounds too dangerous to do at night, especially in your armor." "Oh, come on, Sky," the Bat Pony shouted. "You know me better than that. We've been friends for more than a decade. How long until you get it through your thick skull that I'm a Bat Pony?" She knocked on his head to emphasize her point. "Bat Ponies see in the dark." She let out a giggle and added, "Dummy." "I know that," Bright Sky snapped. "But I still think that what was a stupidly dangerous thing to—" "Once again, you know who I am," Bright Eyes continued. "You know how good I am at performing stunts. I also know how many times you've ended up in a hospital because you thought you could be like the Wonderbolts." The Batmare tilted her head and stared in disbelief at Bright Sky before suddenly letting out another giggle. She brought her hoof up to her mouth and snickered into it, much to Bright Sky's surprise. "What?" he demanded. "What's so funny?" Bright Eyes held up her free hoof, pleading for a moment to gather herself with it, and went on giggling. When she was finished, she flashed a smirk at Bright Sky and said, "Oh, nothing, mother." Then she went back to giggling. Bright Sky sighed in frustration and rubbed his forehead. More waves of tiredness crashed against him, and he found himself fighting to keep his eyes open. He decided that chewing his friend out any further would be a waste of time, and turned in the air. He faced the ground and, using his wings to move slowly, lowered himself back to the surface of the planet. Touching down on the soft garden grass, he took another look, and wasn't particularly surprised to see that Bright Eyes was plummeting again. He didn't bother trying to stop her this time, now that he knew what she was up to. He started back towards his post, grumbling about how she could possibly have so much energy after being awake as long as she'd been. It seemed the Batmare never slept, though when she did, he could do nothing to wake her from her slumber. He knew this as a fact. It was the first thing he'd learned about Bright Eyes when they'd met 12 years ago. He'd found her in a tree one night in his backyard. He'd been 10 then, without a cutie mark or any knowledge of what a bat pony was, and he faced the new creature sitting in this tree with curiosity more than anything. For 30 minutes he tried to wake her, using any technique he could think of, and when none of them worked he simply shoved her out of the tree. Even then, he found, she would not wake up, and so he stayed by her side until she finally did so on her own. She could remember clearly that first time she'd smiled at him, showing off the pearly white fangs that seemed to glint in unison with her neon golden eyes. "You've got some really soft grass," she'd quipped, and thus the two came to know each other under the branches of a pear tree. Their friendship had been a surprise to no pony. Back in their shared hometown, both had been known for their infatuation with the royal guard. Bright Sky had seen it as a way to go on adventures and meet mares. Bright Eyes wanted to repay the princesses for integrating her family into the regular lives of the daytime ponies of Equestria. From playing soldier in Bright Sky's backyard to making sketches of each other in armor to the day they'd made the trip to Canterlot together to officially sign up, the two had spent more time together than they had with their own families. Nothing tore them apart, not even their work schedules. Bright Sky often took night shifts, as did Bright Eye with daytime ones. Hence his exhaustion. Over the past 3 days, he'd gotten approximately 8 hours of sleep, most of which came from 20-minute increments that were not so inconspicuously mixed in with his work shifts. Fortunately, this shift he was nearing the end of now was his last for an entire 24 hours, and he knew exactly how he wanted to spend them. Reaching his post once more, Bright Sky began humming to himself as he thought of his day off consumed his entire mind. He was so absorbed in his fantasies of slumber that his memory of what Bright Eyes was doing completely slipped his mind. All he could think of was pillows and blankets and the scent of freshly washed sheets and slam! Bright Sky was torn from his imagination by something that tore him from the ground and flung him across the garden. He couldn't even whimper as the air rushed out of his lungs, and he felt his helmet tumble off his head as he struck the ground again. Wincing and hissing under his breath, the Pegasus rolled and rolled, denting and scratching his armor plenty as he did so. He came to a stop underneath a plum tree, which he stared up at in shock as his mind processed what had just happened. He tried to think of what might have hit him, but such thoughts could not form completely in his mind, as a coughing that came from his right took his attention away from them. He glanced that way, trying not to turn his aching head too much. He caught a glimpse of a silhouette of a pony in a dust cloud formed from his rolling, and he recognized the shape of the pony's body immediately. His blank expression flashed to one of shock and disbelief as he heard Bright Eyes say, "Oh, that was awesome! That was a freaking rush! I gotta try that again sometime!" The adrenaline-high Bat Pony looked over at Bright Sky with a grin stamped on her face. She noticed something on his face, and her smile flickered a little. "Crud," she said. "Your armor's busted. The cloaking spell stopped working. You're you again." Bright Sky looked down at himself and saw that Bright Eyes was correct. The spell contained within each day guard's armor, which made them appear identical to one another, had been shorted out by either his clash with Bright Eyes or his impact against the plum tree. He watched the last of the white drain away from his now crimson coat. Glancing up with his naturally silver-blue eyes, he could see that his mane had also reverted to its natural color, a dark scarlet. Even with the moon brightening up the night, he was dark enough to be almost invisible against the right backdrop, say, the brown bark of a tree. "Man, it's like you're camouflaged when you're up against that plum tree," Bright Eyes noted, squinting at the ground Pegasus. "Step forward a bit. I want to see what you look like." Surprisingly, he obeyed her. He got to his hooves and took a step forward. The light of the moon shone down on him, revealing his slightly battered body in his damaged armor. He gawked at Bright Eyes, not understanding how the Batmare could be so energetic after slamming into him. He felt something beginning to boil deep in his stomach, and his mouth twisted into a snarl as his friend whistled and smirked at him. She moaned. "You look good with your normal coat beneath that armor."
She put a hoof to her cheek, and Bright Sky was certain he spotted a blush. "Maybe we should talk to whoever makes the stuff, convince him to keep you like this." She then took notice of the large lump forming on the side of his head. She grinned sheepishly and lowered her hoof, mumbling as she did. "Sorry about that, by the way. I didn't think you were that lightweight. I thought you would—" "What?" Bright Sky yelled, charging forward as his anger burst out. His muzzle touched hers as he continued. "You thought I would what, exactly?" Taken aback by her friend's outburst, Bright Eyes answered in stutters. I didn't know what I thought would happen." "No, really?" The Pegasus spat, interrupting her once more. "Please inform me on how you thought slamming into me after a stunt like that would end. It's something that really—" He winced and took a step away to cradle his chest with a hoof. It still ached whenever he took a deep breath. He ground his teeth to fight back another groan and finished. "Interests me." Bright Eye's smile had all but disappeared by that point, and she reached out a hoof to console him. Look, Sky," she stammered, confidence draining faster than her adrenaline. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "Hurt me?" he barked, dodging her hoof. "I thought you were trying to murder me with that stunt." The Batmare frowned at him and tilted her head, giving him a look that somehow was both apologetic and annoyed at the same time. "Come on, Sky. I know that couldn't have hurt as much as your acting it did. I mean, I hit you head on, and I'm fine." She knocked on her skull with a hoof and winced in pain. It seemed the universe decided to treat her to some justice after all. Bright Sky smirked and rubbed his chest again as he replied in a calmer voice. "You're right. That stunt didn't give you any brain damage or anything. You already had that." Bright Eyes shot him a dirty look, but it soon morphed into a gaudy smile. "Ha!" she laughed. "I knew it. You're totally fine, dude. Admit it." "I'm not fine," Bright Sky snapped. "And even if I was, I'd still be pissed off at you. You could have killed us both with that move. You're lucky that only my armor got busted, which I hope you realize you'll be paying for. Thank you very much. Oh, and the way you just pass it off as nothing and start checking me out. What the hell is that about?" The mare groaned, rolling her golden eyes up at the star-dotted sky. "Celestia, Sky, you're too much of a killjoy. When did you stop liking excitement?" "Maybe when my best friend started acting absolutely batty." And there it was, plain as day, the mistake. He had erred to the highest of degrees, and his realization of this sent the anger flying from his face and replaced it with gut-shrinking, all-consuming fear. "Excuse me?" growled Bright Eyes, eyes growing wide with terrifying, quiet rage. The change had taken place in the blink of an eye. No longer was Bright Sky regarded with playful sarcasm. No, what he faced now was a predator, the kind that would not let his mistake pass without letting him know exactly how big of one it was. Her fangs flashed in the light of the moon, as did her eyes. The twin golden orbs glared at him with a ferocity that he'd not seen for almost 4 years. So fearful of the bad pony's rage was he that, when she took a step forward to come closer to him, he took 3 back. He would have taken more had his flanks not bumped into the plum tree he'd been knocked into earlier. "What does that mean?" Bright Eyes spat, having brought her face within inches of his. Bright Sky felt spit fleck his muzzle. He could almost feel the burn of its poison against his skin, and he resisted the urge to scrunch his eyes shut and wish the mare away. Instead, he stared the bat pony down as best as he could, choosing not to answer her right away. "Well?" she snarled. "Are you gonna try and explain yourself?" Look, I didn't mean to hurt you." All too quickly he saw that the tables had been turned. Now it was his turn to be chewed out, and judging by how menacing Bright Eyes' snarl was, he would not be surprised if it turned out to be a literally chewing out. "Hurt me? Oh no, Sky, you can't hurt me, saying something like that."
She grinned a maniac pony's grin and shook her head. I just want to know why. He was almost too afraid to ask. Why what? Why would you, of all ponies, have the gall to call me something as insensitive as absolutely Betty? The last word she launched at him like a spear. He felt it hit home in his gut and crumpled a little inside. Especially since it's me you're talking about, she added, and another javelin lodged in his stomach. He stared fearfully into his insulted friend's eyes and saw in them the scenes of her life she was referring to amongst the rage and hurt she was feeling. It had been a cliché of a story. Bright Eyes was different, therefore she was wrong and deserved to know it. Equestria was known for its love and tolerance, but such virtues were something that the young foals at his and Bright Eyes' school had yet to be taught. For years they mocked her appearance, her nocturnal nature, even her diet of fruits. It was something that Bright Eyes had never been exposed to, and thus it had created a great emotional strain on her. Bright Sky had been there to comfort her, of course, and with his help she overcame any and all insecurities she might have had before, but there always remained a hatred for bat-related puns, jokes or jabs that no therapist could assist her with, and many had tried. Of course, once she'd made this hatred known, the bullying stopped almost overnight, and she'd been free of all insulting since. Until tonight, when he'd opened his mouth and said one of the few things that could ever truly hurt her. Bright Eyes, I'm sorry. It was all he could say. Just answer the question, Sky, she replied, adding tired to the array of emotions contained in the look she gave him. I just want to know why. I don't know. It just slipped out. Slipped out? She squinted, as though not really certain she was talking to him. Like a Freudian slip? Well, no, he insisted, meaning it, but not knowing how to prove it. Every word that came into his mind would only make things worse if spoken aloud, and he was beginning to run out of ones that he knew the meaning of. I just needed to get me back. The Batmare finished. The dullness in her eyes made his heart sink. Well, you had quite the trick up your sleeve, I see. You knew exactly what would get to me the most. Oh, Celestia, Bright Eyes, I didn't mean any harm. Yeah, she replied dully, staring at the battered chest plate in front of her. I didn't either. Guess the both of us got hurt by accident then. Bright Sky let out a gruff sigh of frustration, wanting to fix his mistake some way. He stared at the hurt Batmare, thinking hard. He looked at her, looking at his chest, and listened as she droned on. I kind of deserved it, actually. I'm not the best friend, am I? Always busting things up, getting too excited over nothing, wanting to do stupid things that get the ponies I care about hurt or in trouble. All that crud. She let a long, doleful sigh pass her lips. You're right, I am absolutely bad. But he couldn't say it, because the wind went rushing from her lungs before she could finish her sentence. Bright Eyes felt herself pressed against the armor she'd dented as Bright Sky pulled her into a deep, apologetic hug. She stared ahead at the plum tree that she'd forced her friend against, feeling him wrap her up in his hoofs. He buried his muzzle into her shoulder, and she heard him whisper to her. Never say that ever again. Please. She didn't answer, so he went on. Yes, you're energetic and crazy and annoying as buck sometimes, but that's what I love about you so much. If you weren't like that, then we probably wouldn't have ever become friends in the first place. And I definitely wouldn't ever think of you the way I do now. You're the best part of my life, Bright Eyes, and that's what makes me so much of a killjoy. I don't ever want to see you get hurt. The Batmare was glad that Bright Sky couldn't see her face. Most of it was now redder than his. She returned the hug eagerly, embracing him and the warmth that flowed from him to her. She nuzzled against his cheek and shut her eyes, letting the moment hang frozen in time around her. Then she felt him pull her out of their hug and in front of him, so that they were face to face once more.
So, please, he concluded, accept my most sincere apology for calling you Betty. Then he gave her the kindest smile she'd ever seen on his face. She found herself thankful for the dark of the night. He would have noticed her blush for sure, had it been daytime when all of this had gone down. Sniffling once, her bright eyes felt a grin break out on her face. Trying her best not to choke when she spoke, she muttered, "Even if I totally am?" For a moment, Bright Sky was worried. Then he saw the smile she was giving him and returned it and said, "Especially if you are." He hugged her again, and she returned this one immediately, happily snuggling against the red stallion. She looked up at the plum tree and considered something for a second. "Prove it," she said suddenly, slipping out of Bright Sky's embrace. "Prove what?" the stallion said, raising an eyebrow. "That you really like me," the bad pony answered. She forced herself to stop feeling nervous and gave a smirk. "Go on a date with me." The Pegasus blanched. He opened his mouth to say something, then closed it, then opened it again, all the while staring at Bright Eyes with a bewildered expression on his face. His mind raced, his ribs ached, and he was certain that he was blushing, though it would not be noticeable with his already crimson coat, especially in the night. "Why?" he said, and followed up with the thought. "Why would you say something like that, idiot?" "Because you like me, and I like you," she replied, blowing some of her mane out of her face. "And because that's what ponies do when they like one another." Her head tilted again, and she pouted cutely at him. "Unless you don't actually like me?" Again Bright Sky spluttered. No, I mean, yes, I like you, but—" He shook his head, took a deep breath, and asked, in as straight a voice as he could muster, "You really want to go out with me?" "Mm-hmm," she answered, stepping forward and touching her muzzle to his. "Deal with it," she said, and pecked him on the lips. "We've both got tomorrow off. Pick me up at my apartment at 7. We'll have dinner." She flapped her wings and launched into the air before he could see her blush, flying over him and out of sight. She plunged into the branches of the plum tree, vanishing into the darkness of the nighttime greenery in a second. Bright Sky was left standing up against the tree, his mouth slightly agape, his eyes wide, his mind a fuzzy mess. Bright Eyes snagged a plum on her way through the tree and bit into it to keep herself from making any noise as she retreated. Bursting from within the tree, she flew upwards, chewing on the plum slowly as she put distance between herself and Bright Sky. It was only when she was above a cloud layer and had finished her plum that she finally let out a yelp of delight. She twirled in the air, looping and spinning as she cheered herself on the night's turn. The core of the plum fell from her hoof towards the ground as she flew cheering. "Yes, yes!" She pumped her hoofs into the air and wriggled mid-flight, overcome with her own giddiness. "Yes, yes, 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 yes!" She punctuated her cries by shooting upwards and folding her wings to her sides. Slowly her ascent came to a standstill. She was momentarily held weightless in the night air, and from her position could see Bright Sky stepping out from under the plum tree, his head pointed skyward. Then gravity kicked in again, and she fell down into the cloud, landing on its soft surface with a small thud. Giggling to herself in an almost mad way, she rolled around in the cloud in excitement. "It worked! It totally worked!" Squealing and squirming, she hugged the cloud to her chest, as all the fantasies of what tomorrow might bring swam around in her mind. Her giggling eventually died down, and soon she was quiet, lying down on the cloud with a puff of it wrapped in her hoofs, eyes turned up at the moon. Her smile was huge and happy, and her golden eyes lit up with the realization that even more good news had just come her way. "Starstruck totally owes me 50 bits. Awesome!" After he'd come back down to Earth, Bright Sky realized he hadn't taken a breath since before Bright Sky had kissed him, and his lungs were now screaming at him to correct this error immediately. He did so, filling his lungs as he thought of what had just happened and what would be happening less than 24 hours from now on. He thought of Bright Eyes and how straightforward she'd been. He thought of her kiss, their kiss, he corrected, as he had on a loop for a minute or so before, and his tongue traced across his lips unconsciously. He tasted plum and looked up at the tree they'd stood under. The fruit hanging from it was large and ripe. He suddenly decided that plums were now his favorite food.
Yes!
The Pegasus jumped when he heard the yell. He looked around wildly for the source of it and stepped out from under the tree to scan the skies. He looked up and found what was making the noise in a second. Bright Eyes was doing stunts in the air again. Guess she finally got one right for the first time, he thought, smiling. Only a minute or so ago, she'd been on the verge of tears, thinking she was unloved. Now it was as though they'd never even conversed. She was spinning through the air again, just as she always did. It was almost bipolar, the way she acted. She'd make a psychologist rich with her brain. "Never change, Bright Eyes," he mumbled, to no pony save himself. "Always be that crazy mare I love." He turned to return to his post, but froze immediately when he saw what was coming out of the dark. His boss, Captain Burst. The Pegasus who was in charge of all the daylight royal guards and had absolutely no logical reason for being on the clock in the middle of the night, which was usually the shift of the moonlight royal guard Captain Beats, was strolling with a determined step directly toward the plum tree Bright Sky was under. Sky thought briefly that he might be able to hide, but found that doing so would only embarrass and condemn him more. The captain had long since noticed him, and Sky realized that was probably the very reason the captain was stalking over to him in the first place. The look on his face was one that most ponies knew Captain Burst for wearing better than any pony in Equestria: stern, powerful contempt.
"Lieutenant Sky!"
The white Pegasus barked. His armor not being damaged hit his natural coat perfectly. Bright Sky snapped to attention, knowing what was coming, and tried his best to prepare mentally for it, though his sleep-deprived, bright eyes-filled brain did not seem up for the task. He stood silently, wondering what the hey Captain Burst was doing here at this time of night, and he stared straight ahead at the Pegasus that continued to march forward until he was only a yard or so away from the Crimson Stallion. Captain Burst looked him up and down. He felt a sweat break out on his brow. What was the captain doing here? Inspected the dents and scratches on his chest plate. Oh, Celestia, he was gonna get it. Why did the universe like to work against him? Noticed the lump on his forehead. He was going to be murdered before he could even go on his date with Bright Eyes. And finally looked him dead in the eye for a full minute. Oh, wait, now he realized what the captain was here for. It was Captain Beats, of course. Then, in a calm, stern tone that terrified Bright Sky, the captain said,
"Lieutenant Sky, I'm going to ask you this in as friendly a manner as I can, so as to make it seem like I am much less angry than I actually am."
He took a step forward, leaned in so that their muzzles were nearly touching, and asked Bright Sky,
"What exactly has made you so red in the face?"
The end. Author's note. Dear readers, I freaking love bad ponies. I really, really do. The fact that they've only truly been part of the show in one instance is too great of an injustice to mention. I mean, who needs magic when you've got bat wings and cat-eye pupils and fangs and stuff? They're more awesome than Rainbow Dash and more adorable than Fluttershy. Therefore, they are best pony. End of fanging rant. I'm really happy with this. I think I needed to write a bit of fluff to get back into the swing of things. Maybe now I'll get back to all those projects I've been meaning to do but haven't been doing because reasons. I'll definitely get more bad ponies. Always room for bad ponies.
As in my last story that was Bad Pony-centric, I have to thank the amazing Comet Burst, writer of the legendary fic The Golden Armor, for showing me how awesome both Bad Ponies and the Royal Guard are. I gave his story a few nudges in this like last time too, and I advise you all to go read it once you're done reading this. In fact, I'll finish up right now so that you can go just do that. Good to be back. NotARealPony.com. P.S. Happy Halloween, spooky herder. Last Cry for Help by Guardian20. Mission Intercept. You copy, Bernard? A voice crackled through my radio. The void of space surrounded me, shrouding my every move in sparkling darkness. Beside me, a shuttle drifts through the weightlessness. I copy, I said, gripping the reaction control system control handles on my suit. Executing mission. The black ceramic heat tiles glistened in the sunlight, showing off the shuttle's underbelly. My breath felt stuffy and loud, cramped inside a pressurized suit. White jets of monopropellant shot out of my pack, shooting me forward at the touch of a lever. Status? Sylvia asked over the radio. I see you. Approaching object, I said. Captain. Understood. Proceed. She disappeared from the communications line, leaving me on my own once again in the silent void of space. The object drew closer as I skillfully maneuvered towards it, cancelling first my vertical then my horizontal velocity with 2 flicks of a control stick. It looked grey, with flecks of pink paint spotting the surface occasionally. One wrecked solar panel jutted out of one side, numerous holes in its blue surface. I could see it was attached to a sun tracking mechanism, which now sat lifeless in space, merely attaching the dead solar panel to the worn craft. I grasped it easily, its small rectangular form willingly slipping into a harness I had prepared. The harness was attached to a tow line, fastened to my utilities belt. A dull blue spark shot from the box out into space, dancing among the white stars until it disappeared forever. Object acquired, I said into the radio. A little bit of cheering came from the other end, followed by Sylvia's sharp voice. Return to craft, she said in an unnecessarily sharp tone. Quick! Underneath that tone I knew she was just as excited as I was. Sylvia's method of remaining calm and collected, perhaps a little bit nippy, when stressed or happy, was what earned her the chieftainship of this vessel. I smiled a little. This was the first foreign craft captured in orbit around Earth in all of history. The green and small sphere glowed below me, radiating its beauty and numerous cities. Clouds drifted over its surface, and water lapped against tiny shores as I floated millions of kilometers above. I approached the shuttle carefully, maneuvering so I was lined up with one of the airlocks before going forward. It flew at me at a gentle speed, a speed I could stop at any time. I reached out with my arms and clumsily grabbed the railing with a padded glove, hauling the rest of myself into the doorway. Entered, I stated after floating into the airlock and closing the door. And locked. Open airlock number 2 any time, Sylvia said as I took off the helmet. God, those suits were stuffy, and it was a relief getting out of it. After stowing the insulated suit, I pressed the green button on the airlock console and the door to the cabin slid open. I held the box under one arm as I floated into the living area. Sylvia was waiting along with the rest of the crew. Sylvia was a slim, athletic woman, always ready for the chase when it came to it. Her short-cut brown hair drifted upwards menacingly as she gave me a look of expectation. Jim, Pete, and Heather looked at me as well, expectation and excitement showing on their faces. "All right," I said, holding the box out in front of me. "This is it." Jim gave it a shrewd glare. "Has it got any buttons?" he asked, looking over the blank surface. No obvious buttons were on it, but after close inspection we did find a small metallic knob. Beside it was a strange crest resembling two Pegasi, unicorn, things, one black, one white, flying in circles. Heck if I know, I'm not their seal designer, whoever they are.
I pushed the knob and the box unfolded, releasing a white smoke. I coughed, as did everyone else, but it cleared. A tape recorder sat on the metallic plate with 2 reels of glistening tape attached to it. "Bloody hell," Pete said, looking at it. "We've just found a craft designed by aliens that were still in the 80s? "I don't think so," Heather said, squinting as she glared at the opposing object. "That doesn't look quite like a tape player to me." "Let's find out," I said, punching a suspicious-looking red button, which set the squeaking wheels in motion. An image popped up over the box, an image we all jumped at. It was a horse, a purple horse, with were those wings? And a horn? Hard to tell with the scattery image, but the audio came in loud and clear. The purple horse, wingy thing, began to talk, and it sounded very upset. "If you're listening to this, we're probably already gone. Time is running thin. They're coming. Oh, Celestia, they're coming. We were infiltrated, shot in our wounds by them. They came screaming through the skies, ripping our crops out of their soil. They murdered us. They're coming. Not much time. Gas. Our cities were filled with white gas, shot directly from the wretched contraptions. We fell, poisoned, dead. They burned us and maimed us. They destroyed every single stallion, mare, and foal in this world. They are pitiless to us. They care not about our plight. They want this land for themselves. Oh, please, please help us." The pony was crying now on her knees in front of the camera. She sobbed on through her message. "Armies are useless against them. Our only hope was to run. But where could we go? This capsule was designed to bring one of us, but it cannot be completed. This message is our last mark on the universe. Equestria has fallen. Celestia was killed in battle, and Luna is dying as we speak. We are all dying." There were screams of missiles and ponies from outside the window as fire leapt at the building. The camera shook as the pony continued her lament. "Help us, please, just help us." "Ah!" Gas billowed into the room, and the pony began coughing. It looked exactly similar to what we encountered upon opening the box. She dropped to the floor, looking at the camera with pleading, big eyes as she died. "Run! It's your only hope." She stopped abruptly, her eyes open and lifeless as she sprawled out on the red carpet. Her body was barely visible through the gas rapidly filling the room. The recording stopped with a hiss as the box sealed shut and the sound of thrusters shooting it through the roof. The picture condensed back into the box, which snapped shut with a hiss. We were silent.
"Intercept, can you read me?"
Mission Control cried through the radio. I kicked myself towards the control console. "Yes," I said, somewhat shaken by the whole experience.
"Are you okay?"
"Yes, but how is a manned deep spaceflight coming along?" I asked.
"Fairly well. Why?"
"We may have to run."
Wow, wasn't that a blast from the past, everyone? Oh my god, I hope my quality has improved since back then. But hey, stay tuned, there are many more where that came from. And for those of you who like longer videos, there will be more compilations in the future. As always, I am Visual Pony, and I hope that you are well and this video finds you well in body and mind. Also, you can support Pony and Wolf Productions through the links down in the description below. Every dollar helps is needed and very much appreciated. See you guys in the next one.